In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is blood politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is blood politics.
We always do about this time.
This is blood politics.
All right, guys, what's happening? What do you say we hop into it? What do you say we talk some politics on a Sunday? You guys gonna join me? I appreciate you for doing so. What's going on, guys? I'm Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Appreciate you for hanging out, like I said, on a Sunday to chat about some politics. I'm a little surprised, guys. I got to say right off the jump, I'm a little surprised to see you guys still talking about the war in Iran in the chat. You guys do know that it's over, right? I mean, according to Donald Trump, that thing is over again. But I'm just kidding. Obviously, we'll be going through all the nonsense coming from both sides of that ridiculousness. Obviously, we'll be touching base on a lot of the topics that we'll have to be talking about as well. But before we do all that and piss everybody off, what do you say we say hi to the chat? What's going on, peeps? How are you guys? What's going on, Corey? What's going on, guys? A little screen time for you never heard. There you are. What's happening, Regina? How are you? What's going on, Roxanne? El Rondo, Regina, Etch, Corrine, Flipper. What's going on, guys? What's up, Wes? What's up, Mr. Foss? What's up, Jen? How are you? I see you in there. What's up, Steve? Artist, Blunt Front, Susie, Namaste. We got the whole crew here. What's up, Berkeley? What's going on, my friend? Linda Lou, still blue down there. I appreciate you. What's up, Roxanne? K Nimbus, Greg, Mozart, Don. How are you guys? What's up, Orville? What's that? Orvillab. I appreciate you for joining me over there on Twitch. No, thanks, guys. I appreciate everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, the whole 9 yards, Twitch, everybody over there. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It is, what's today? March 3rd, 2026. What do we get to talk about today? Like I said, Trump claims the war is over once again, as he claims to be reviewing some phantom proposal that, according to some experts, seems a lot like the other proposal that he said he didn't like beforehand. But like I said, to catch everybody up to speed on what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz and obviously the war in Iran, we'll be taking a look at some clips from both sides, what Donald Trump has said, and then we'll be looking at some of the statements coming from the spokespeople, the embassy, the foreign ministry, and other people on the Iranian side to see if we can kind of, match up the statements, see if we can figure out the discrepancies, and obviously let you guys come to your own conclusions about where we stand and where we're going to be in just a few days. So we'll be talking about that. Obviously, we'll be having to discuss the damage to the U.S. bases in the Middle East revealed. There was a good CNN clip, a good CNN article on, I believe it was an AEI review that did a kind of a deep dive, a deep look at some of the U.S. bases in and around the Middle East and the damage that has been done to those by Iranian Shahed drones or Iranian missiles. So we'll be diving into that. And again, it flies in the face of everything that you're being told by the Donald Trump administration and obviously the United States on the whole. So we'll be taking a look at that. We'll be talking about Spirit Airlines and obviously them tanking, which is going to have a huge impact not only on the thousands of people that worked for Spirit Airlines, but obviously the people that relied upon what was kind of like an economical option. As far as flight is concerned, people have been stranded at the airports. Obviously, prices have kind of increased because of the new demand. We'll be talking about that as well. What else we got going on here? The 5,000 troops that Donald Trump wants to remove from Germany and kind of how that stacks up and kind of compares to the erratic, ridiculous moves that Donald Trump was making in his first administration. I pulled up a story that I recalled from Mark Milley in which Donald Trump passed him a note, or in which Mark Milley was passed a note in which ordered him to withdraw all troops from, I believe it was Somalia and Iraq, if I'm not mistaken. which again, with no prior military planning, with no prior, kind of consultation between any of the military leaders, anybody in the Pentagon or anything, you can see what a dumb and drastic move that is. So I just want to kind of compare and let everybody know that this isn't something new with Donald Trump. This is kind of, we knew this was coming. We warned you guys about this as well. We got some Ukraine updates coming from there. We got some video links that I want to show you in case we don't have some time to dive into those as well. A couple Lego drops. And then, I think that's about the gist of today's show. So if you could hit that like button, if you could subscribe to the channel before we dive into the craziness, just a little housekeeping notes. I want to make sure to thank once again Michael Fanone for his time coming on the show. Make sure if you guys haven't seen it, you'll go back, check out the interview I did, more of a conversation than an interview that I had with Michael Fanone. We talked about, all things United States politics and abroad. Whether it was the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting, whether it was the war in Iran, what ICE was doing, corruption, the whole 9 yards was kind of covered on that one. So go back, and again, much appreciated to Michael Fanone for coming on the show, giving us the time. And again, anybody that wants to contribute to independent media so we can continue having great people on the show like Michael Fanone, upcoming talk with Preston Stewart, who we look at a lot for, his insight into what's happening in Ukraine with Russia. He's been touching base a little bit on what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz lately, and some African conflicts as well. He's kind of been keeping everybody informed about. So we have him coming on the show the 13th, and then we got a Massachusetts representative coming in Cinco de Mayo as well. So we'll be talking to a few people coming up. So it's with your help that we can do this independently without sponsors, backers, and nobody's tossing tens of thousands of dollars at the show to keep this running. It's all with the help of you guys, your generosity, you guys finding some interest, finding some value in the show, and putting up a buck, putting the money where your mouth is to help support this show. So Venmo is typically the easiest and most direct way to do that. But there's a multitude of other different ways. You can head over to patreon.com/BostonBrian. 3 great tiers on there. Get a bunch of different perks. You get discounts to the merch shop. A lot of different reasons as to why that's pretty beneficial. You get access to the Zoom chats. We got one coming up tomorrow. So everybody signed up and eligible for the Zoom chat tomorrow. Be looking out for the link. You can sign up for a membership just underneath me at, for a YouTube membership for less than a gallon of gas. So, there's some other ways in which you could help. Obviously, super chat, super stickers. And then at the end of every single show, we highlight, appreciate, congratulate everybody that supports the show, anybody that hits a milestone in the chat. So make sure you stick around to the end if you do contribute. So thank you. I think that's the housekeeping shit out of the way right off the bat. So what do you say we dive into a little bit of the nonsense, a little bit of the craziness, as we always do? First and foremost, I wanted to show you guys this because this is just, it's, I know you guys are feeling the pinch. I know you guys are aware of what's been taking place as far as gas prices is concerned, but to see how ridiculously fast these prices have been creeping up is just, it's wild to see. It really is. So, today's national average here on AAA is 444, right? But if you go here and you look at what it was just a week ago, right? So we're just about a week ago average was about $4.09, right? So $4.09. We're up to 444 just a week later. So you can say yesterday, 443, today, 444, a month ago, 409 as well. A year ago, 317. The rate at which that these prices are climbing is, and again, I know I'm not, giving you guys any, breaking news. I know you guys are out there driving around. You're at the gas pumps, especially in the Western states and states that are paying, the exorbitant cost comparatively to other places in the United States, which are seeing high cost, but, not as high as, say the Californias and people on the West Coast. Obviously here, as you can see in the Indianas, Ohio's, Michigans, Illinois, really paying the price. People in Alaska, obviously, Hawaii, Oregon, Nevada, Washington, all those places are really feeling it. It's crazy. It really is. And again, to see that this is kind of self-dealt, right? We did this to ourselves as far as our government and what we enacted and what we undertake, the things that we were undertaking. This is, again, smacking ourselves in our face here. But a lot of people are waking up and realizing that, it is self-inflicted to a large extent. And that, the main reason is Donald Trump's incompetence, is the leadership now and the administration that we have now in the United States. And it continues to get worse because we don't see any off ramps. We don't see kind of that way out. Donald Trump continues to talk about how the war is over, and he's trying to get away from congressional authorization, as we talked about with Michael Fanone as well. The new route that they're trying to take is the fact that no shots are being fired, so we kind of have to stop. We have to pause the day clock. Let's pause that. Let's not continue counting on that. That way we don't have to seek congressional approval and authorization as far as military force is concerned. But even though they don't understand that they're enacting and still right now under a blockade, which is an act of war, which is just every single one of these talking points is ridiculous and has another way in which you could be like, well, that doesn't make sense because you just said this not that long ago, right? It's so stupid on every level. But the new thing is that, Donald Trump is claiming victory, right? So the war's over. We don't have to worry about it anymore. He's going over this proposal. He also thinks it's a shit proposal, but it also may be a proposal that he already shot down, a couple weeks ago at the same time. So again, don't believe anything that you hear coming out of our side. I know that for damn sure, which is exactly why, today we're going to have to go through a few of the statements from both sides. And again, like I said, I'll let you guys be the judge. I'll let you come to your own determination as to where we are. But, this is the post here on Truth Social that people were talking about. Donald Trump's kind of market manipulation attempt once again here. Let me throw this on, verify that I'm a fucking human to Truth. So yeah. Yep, I'm a human. About it. Yada, yada, yada. Let me go back, for crying out loud. It's the dumbest website in the history of the world. In the history of the world, this is the dumbest website. All right, let me go back to where he had that. All right, here he goes. So he says, I will soon be reviewing the plan that Iran has just sent to us, but can't imagine that it would be acceptable. Again, this is what I guess we have to forget that he said just the other day that the Iranians gave him a phone call, sent him a fax, shot him an email or something that said that they were ready to capitulate. They were ready to collapse. Like, what happened to that whole thing? You know what I mean? Like, he throws these things out there. Nobody ever follows up. Nobody asks him secondary questions. Nobody says, hey, you said this the other day. What the fuck happened there? Nope. We're just on to the next Truth Social post where he says he's going to be reviewing the plan that Iran just sent to them, but can't imagine that it would be acceptable in that they have not paid a big enough price yet for what they have done to humanity and the world over the last 47 years. Thank you for your attention to this matter, yada, yada, yada. So at the same time, he's trying to claim to the American people and to Congress that this war is over, right? No congressional authorization needed, while also saying that it is unconstitutional for the president to have to seek congressional approval. I have that clip coming up. Yes, that's really one of the talking points that they're trying to come out with right now. They're saying it's unconstitutional for the president to have to seek congressional approval. That we know, the laws and the way that it's written and the powers that Congress has, that's the way that it's supposed to go. So how it could be unconstitutional, and Donald Trump lies that no president has ever kind of, gone to Congress to seek authorization is horseshit, is bullshit. We can look back to Iraq and Afghanistan, both of which, if I'm not mistaken, had congressional approval at some point or another. But this is his market manipulation attempt to get everybody to believe that there's dealings to be done. The other side is willing to negotiate. They're ready to capitulate. They're on the verge of collapse. They're sending us deal after deal after deal. I'm just kind of waiting for the right one. You know what I mean? It's just like the same thing. Remember I said Pete Hegseth the other day was like, yeah, don't worry. We're under some sort of a ceasefire. So can we hit pause? Can we do a timeout on the way that you guys are counting the days? The fact that we have to seek congressional approval. It's just the whole thing is it's fucking so kindergarten at this point. You know what I mean? It is. Who said that? I think it was James O'Brien that said it was like government by kindergarten. It really is. And again, here's kind of a couple clips to back that statement up as well. There's a few of these that were posted, but Donald Trump kind of gave 2 seconds. There's not much of this to get through. I think it's only about 2 clips, and they're really short, but they do go a long way into showing, kind of the chaos right now and how desperate Donald Trump is to kind of control the narrative to make it seem like he's still got the upper hand in this, when the other side and what they're saying clearly shows something different, let's just say. But there was a few of these. Here's one of them where he's talking about removing the troops from Germany. Once again, this is just 20 seconds long. I'll just go through these 3 clips, and then we'll chat about it afterwards here. Again, he's talking about the removal of 5,000 or more troops that he's now talking about from Germany because he's mad at Friedrich Merz because he said that Donald Trump was basically getting bitch slapped by the Iranians in this whole thing.
A lot of oil. A lot of oil.
Why is the U.S. removing troops from Germany?
So the question is, and I know fucking this website sucks, Twitter sucks, True Social sucks, everything that is run by these idiots sucks. So I apologize for that. But basically the question is, why is the United States removing their troops from Germany? And you should be able to hear the asshole's answer.
We're going to cut way down, and we're cutting a lot further than 5,000. Thank you very much.
So again, he says we're cutting way down and we're cutting way more than 5,000. That was originally reported. And now it's coming out that the Pentagon, as we kind of suspected, was blindsided by this. There was no preparatory work done. There was no talks or deliberation done between the military, the government, the Pentagon, the people stationed in Germany and how they felt and how that would affect things over there. Nothing like that was ever talked about. So now the Pentagon is kind of scrambling behind the scenes to try to work with the president, to try to appease the president and make this kind of a reality based off of his ridiculous statements on True Social and what he says before he hops his fat ass on Air Force One every single time. But there was a couple of these other ones. Here's where he calls it a friendly blockade, right? I mean, I shit you not. This is the shit that he's trying to get across to the American people and to the people of the world to believe. The question is, in your letter to Congress, which you wrote to basically say that he doesn't need to seek their congressional approval, doesn't need their congressional authorization for continued military force because, the war is won. It's over. It's done with. We won it in the second day. Unfortunately, the blockade's still in place. They still have the strait closed. Gas prices are still, shooting up by the day. Oil prices are still about as fucking unstable as they've ever been. Otherwise, I guess you could probably call it done at that point. But here's what he says. It's a friendly blockade. So it's not an act of war, guys. It's not an act of war that would necessitate Congress to approve or deny that use of force. That's not what it is. It's a very friendly, like rainbows and sunshine. It's like they're calling each other up with love letters, and they're really giving really cute messages to each other from the U.S. Navy to all of these ships that they're talking to. Like it's so awesome. You should see it. That's what he says. That's the quote. It's a very friendly blockade. Like what? What the fuck does that mean? What are you talking about, Gramps? Listen to this shit.
It's a possibility that could happen, certainly.
Mr. President, in your letter to Congress, you said the hostilities in Iran that started have been terminated. How can you say that given that the naval blockade is still being militarily enforced?
So the question is, in your letter to Congress, you basically stated this war has come to an end. How can you state that when the naval blockade is still in place? And you'll hear, again, the asshole's answer.
Well, it's a very friendly blockade. Nobody's even challenging it. Nobody at all is challenging it. Just so you understand, many presidents have been involved in things that are very big. They never had to go through anything with respect to Congress. They considered it to be totally unconstitutional. And the Democrats in Congress that push this, and probably a couple of Republicans, they're hurting our negotiating ability, which is infinite right now. And they shouldn't be doing it. It's never happened before. No other president's done it. And I'm not going to be the first. Thank you very much.
So no other president's done it. He's not going to be the first. And it's just like, I don't understand why no reporters in there is not like, hey, just to let you know, Congress authorized military action in Afghanistan 2001 and Iraq 2002 through specific authorizations for use of military force, the AUMFs, rather than formal declarations of war. These acts empowered the president to use armed forces to fight terrorism and eliminate threats, with the 2001 AUMF still used for global operations, right? So the fact that, he's trying to say that it's illegal or unconstitutional for, again, Congress to have to authorize or not authorize the continued use of military force is just ridiculous. And the fact that there's no pushback, the fact that nobody in the press corps or anybody sitting there asking him questions was like, well, that's incorrect. You're an idiot. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, how could it possibly be unconstitutional for Congress to be able to authorize or not authorize the use of military force based on the powers granted to them? Like, please, nobody in the press corps has questions about that. And that wasn't the only lie that he told in there either. You know what I mean? That wasn't the only lie that he told in there either, where he calls it a friendly blockade and that nobody was trying to, nobody's trying to run it. Nobody's doing anything about it. Everything's just going swimmingly as far as that's concerned. Well, it doesn't take long to shoot that down either. Here was a post by the Hormuz letter where they say an Iranian national Iranian tanker company, VLCC supertanker carrying 1.9 million barrels of crude oil worthy of nearly $220 million has evaded the U.S. Navy blockade and reached the Far East per tanker trackers with China as the final destinations. The tanker was huge when ALS Dark on March 20th en route to Iran, loaded Iranian crude during the U.S. blockade, was sighted off of Sri Lanka last week and is now traversing Indonesia's Lombok Strait. This directly contradicts Trump and CENTCOM, which said several times in the last few weeks the reports of ships evading are false. So Donald Trump says it's a friendly blockade. Nobody's running it. Everybody's obeying. Nobody's got anything to say about it. It's actually like the best thing since sliced bread. Meanwhile, it takes about 13 and a half seconds, if not less, to pull up something directly flying in the face of that, directly going the opposite direction as to what the United States and Donald Trump is saying. You know what I mean? And I'm sure this isn't the only instance that we could look at, but this is just the first one that popped up. You know what I mean? It's like, how much do you have to point out that this guy's lying? How many times you have to point out he's lying? It's not even that he's lying. It's like how big the lies are. Like, it's not even fucking close to what we're seeing in reality. Not even a little bit close to what we're seeing in reality. And the fact that, like, the people that are around him that still defend this, like, they know. They absolutely know. Like, there's still nobody that is in this situation defending Donald Trump because they believe in what he's doing or what he's done or likes the gas prices being this high or likes being involved in these foreign wars. They're only doing it because they've fucking dug the hole that deep that they have nowhere else to go. Right, the people that you still see defending this guy are the people that that lost their jobs or careers or haven't talked to friends or family members in years because of their defense or love for the Republican Party or Donald Trump. Right, so they have nowhere else to turn. So they're not doing it because they love or believe in what the policies are or what the results of this. They're doing it because they're so tied to this guy. Right, they're so attached to his coattails that they have nowhere else to go. And I know it's frustrating for everybody, but they continue to make themselves look like idiots because there is no way to defend this. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Sorry. My apologies. My brother was texting me. But yeah, there's no way for anybody to defend this. So again, that wasn't even the only lie, but the fact that he's the fact that he's now fucking trying to remove holy shit. Tim, what are you doing, dude? We're crying out loud. We got people knocking at the back door and shit. Anyway, but the fact that we have people still trying to defend this shit is outrageous. But I know it makes them look just as stupid. But the fact that he's trying to withdraw 5,000 of the troops from Germany is not like the first time that he's done this. You know what I mean? It's not the first time whatsoever. I could throw this on the screen as well. This was from the first administration where Mark Milley kind of got a note from Kash Patel, right? And it said basically to withdraw all U.S. troops from 2 different fucking nations with no prior fucking warning, right? Nobody sitting down in the military and saying, hey, maybe we should think about what this is going to do, the ramifications, the repercussions of this. Like maybe we should confer with some people. Like that's just not how that went. You know what I mean? So this is from CNN, reported September 14th, 2021. Says new woodwork cost a book. Trump's secret memo ordering withdrawal from Afghanistan blindsided national security team. And I just wanted to go through just a couple of the crazy fucking paragraphs as far as this was concerned, because it is nuts, right? Like the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff gets a piece of paper, basically from Kash Patel, a memo saying to withdraw all U.S. troops from 2 whole nations, right? With no, like I said, no prior planning. It goes just 8 days after the 2020 election. Then President Donald Trump was so determined to end the war in Afghanistan during his presidency that he secretly signed a memo to withdraw all troops by January 15th, 2021, according to a new book, Peril, by journalists Bob Woodward and Robert Costa, right? At the same time that we were talking about Donald Trump letting out 5,000 Taliban members just before we were trying to get all of the troops out of Afghanistan. That's a separate conversation. But he says here, November 11th memo, according to the authors, has been secretly drafted by 2 Trump loyalists and never went through the normal process for a military directive. The Secretary of Defense, National Security Advisor, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff all had never seen it. Unpredictable, impulsive. Trump had done an end run around against this whole national security team. In a remarkable scene, the authors write, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, newly appointed Acting Defense Secretary Chris Miller, and his new Chief of Staff, Kash Patel at the time, were all blindsided when the memo arrived at the Pentagon. Woodward and Costa reproduced the memo in peril. He said the directives were titled Memorandum for Acting Secretary of Defense, Withdrawal from Somalia and Afghanistan. Excuse me, I think I said Iraq earlier. I was mistaken. It was Afghanistan. I hereby direct you to withdraw all U.S. forces from the Federal Republic of Somalia no later than the 31st of December 2020 and from the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan no later than the 15th of January 2021. Informed all allied and partner forces of the directives. Please confirm the receipt of this order. Milley studied the memo and announced he was heading to the White House to confront Trump. So it was so out of pocket, right? It was so like what the fuck is actually going on here that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff went to the White House himself, didn't make a phone call, right? Didn't fucking say, hey, let me get my assistant on this. No, he himself went to the fucking White House and demanded answers from all these people. And again, this is the first administration. I'm just showing you kind of how this whimsical removal of all of our forces here from Germany, something that Vladimir Putin would be fucking, dying to have happen, isn't kind of out of the ordinary. This is, something that we saw in his first administration as well. He says, quote, this is really fucked up and I'm going to see the president. This is General Mark Milley. I'm heading over. You guys can come or not. Milley and Patel, who joined him on the trip across the Potomac, according to the book. At the White House, the 3 men paid a surprise visit to the National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien, and showed him the signed memo. How did this happen, Milley asked O'Brien. According to the book, was there any process here at all? How does a president do this? O'Brien looked at the memo and said, I have no idea. He has no idea. So look at this. Look at the people that had no clue that this was going on here. So far you got Robert O'Brien, right, who looked at it, said he has no idea, never seen it. And then Milley responded, what do you mean you have no idea? You're the National Security Advisor to the president. And the Secretary of Defense didn't know about this, Milley said. And the Chief of Staff for the Secretary of Defense didn't know about this. The chairman didn't know. How the hell does this happen? Milley said. O'Brien took the memo and left while the White House officials had briefly debated whether the memo could be a forgery, which means they think that somebody could have faked this and somehow handed it to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to remove all U.S. forces from Somalia and Afghanistan all at once, no military approval, no fucking conferring, no hey, let's sit down and war game and think about kind of what would happen, what would the next steps be, what would the likely next steps be by other actors in the regions, other players in the regions if we do this, right? None of that. And it goes on to say here, Mr. President, you've got to have a meeting with the principals, O'Brien told Trump, according to the book, which Trump agreed to do, and the directive was withdrawn. It was effectively a rogue memo and had no standing, Woodward and Costa write. All right, O'Brien said when he returned to his office, we've already taken care of this. It was a mistake. The memo was nullified. So basically 3 different people working within the White House had no idea what the fuck this was. They actually thought it could have been a forgery. And then apparently they took it to Donald Trump or had this, meeting with Donald Trump while General Mark Milley waited. Next thing you know, they came in about 15 minutes later and said that the order was rescinded. So don't worry about that. Forget about it, like it never happened, right? Just pretend you didn't see it type of thing. That's how erratic this whole thing has been since the fucking first administration, since this guy took office from the jump, right? So this erratic behavior of, oh, okay, I don't like what the Chancellor of Germany is saying, so I'm going to take all the U.S. troops out of there to appease Vladimir Putin. Shouldn't be a shock to everybody. You know what I mean? It's crazy how they're just getting worse, right? I understand these problems have been problems for a long time, but with his age, with his fucking mental acuity going, with his brain just leaking out of his loafers at every turn, this stuff is getting worse and worse and worse and more dangerous by the day. So that's, again, why it's desperate that we continuously call this shit out. But as far as the discrepancies between what the two sides are saying, Donald Trump saying the war is over, Donald Trump saying that he doesn't need congressional approval or authorization because, again, there is no war. We're just under, we're just engaging in a naval blockade, which is an act of war. But other than that, there's really nothing else that we have to see here. But there was a couple other posts by the Hormuz letter that I wanted to go. This is the one that I was talking about earlier. This quote, new proposal Trump said he just received tonight from Iran, which he would say be reviewing, is the same proposal his administration already rejected on Friday. Yet he treats it like a new one and says he can't imagine that it would be acceptable. Per Aragchi, how do you say that? Aragchi? My apologies. Iran's proposal on Friday demands withdrawal of all U.S. forces from Iran's surroundings, lifting the naval blockade with the new Hormuz mechanism, lifting sanctions, and releasing Iran's frozen assets and paying compensation. Right? So much like the deals that we've talked about in the past. Seems like, again, not only more power and prestige and respect to be given to the Iranians after this deal was to be signed, if this type of deal was to be signed, but it doesn't seem like the deal is changing at all. Right? Doesn't seem like there's much kind of pushback or, things being thrown in there by the United States demanding there's nothing in there whatsoever that seems like it's changing. So lifting the naval blockade, still a talking point, right? Lifting the sanctions, releasing frozen assets. We talked about that. And Donald Trump said, no, they weren't going to be exchanging any dollars, paying compensation. It's again, I don't see how this is, in line with anything that Donald Trump is saying. And the fact that, he's coming out to make it seem like a new proposal. Like, obviously, the new Iranian leadership is just sending us proposal after proposal after proposal. They're so desperate to capitulate, and the blockade's having such a huge impact that we're getting phone call after phone call after phone call. Well, guess what? Seemingly what he's talking about is the same deal that on Friday he said he wasn't going to agree to. So now bringing that back up, making it seem like a new proposal. That way people get their hopes up. The markets hopefully will kind of ease the pressure on those, thinking that some sort of outcome is going to be happening in the next few days or could possibly happen in the next few days. But that's just not what we're seeing, right? We're hearing Pete Hegseth talking about being locked and loaded and ready to go, having target packages set up for the the apparent escalation that's coming. Israel and their target packages inside of Iran all set to go for when these escalations kick back off. This is right here breaking another post here. Israel is preparing for the possibility of an imminent U.S. attack on Iran and an Iranian preemptive strike if Iran feels the attack is coming, with the Israeli chief of staff now calling CENTCOM Commander Cooper to discuss the operations per Channel 12. And again, this is just kind of going through some of the reporting, some of the statements by some of the spokespeople, some of the top players in the Iranian side to see if we can kind of, just kind of figure out where the truth actually lies from where, the United States administration and what they're telling us to what's actually happening on the ground and what we're likely to see. So this talks about how Iran's parliament deputy speaker says managing the Strait of Hormuz is more important than obtaining nuclear weapons. Following this, Iran announces the Hormuz management plan is now formulated in 12 articles requiring ships to obtain a license from Iran, hostile countries to pay war reparations, and permanently banning Israeli ships from crossing. Again, directly talking about the control that they're likely to have and want to continue to have even after this conflict or after an agreement deal is signed. Like, that deal is going to include their control over the strait. It's going to include, ships having to obtain a license from Iran, as we've been talking about, to determine not only what they're carrying, but where they're carrying it from, where they're going to, and that will determine kind of the price or the toll or the tax that they have to pay to cross them. It's going to be within, Iran's determined routes that they need to take as far as these vessels and ships are concerned. So again, it's just giving them more and more power on the world stage. And it says, even to this point where the parliament deputy speaker of Iran says that managing the Strait of Hormuz is now more important than obtaining nuclear weapons, which I don't think has kind of ever been something that we thought otherwise, considering what, Tulsi Gabbard has told us, that their nuclear capabilities were kind of stopped and ceased in 2003 and kind of haven't been restarted since then. Again, directly in contravention to what the Trump administration continues to tell us as far as Iran's nuclear capabilities. But this says here, it goes on, over 6,500 tons of U.S. ammunition and artillery equipment have arrived in Israel this weekend, more than 4 times the usual rate per Channel 12. Again, that doesn't show to me like negotiations are like kind of the main talking point. The negotiations are kind of what they want to see happen. If you're sending in 6,500 tons of U.S. ammunitions and military equipment to Israel, seems to me like you're ready for things to kick back off, whether that's by your side or in defense of the other side striking your territory. But, there was just a couple of these This is another one here. China has instructed 5 Chinese refineries to ignore U.S. sanctions on buying Iranian oil, with China's Ministry of Commerce saying the United States cannot recognize, implement, or comply with the sanctions. Per Reuters, the 5 refineries include the Hengli Petrochemical and 4 Teapot refineries that together represent significant Chinese refining capacity. So again, that goes hand in hand with the ship that we talked about coming on here and evading the U.S. blockade right here, heading to China. So an Iranian national tanker company, VLCC supertanker, carrying almost 2 million barrels of crude oil worth nearly $220 million, has evaded the U.S. Navy blockade and reached the Far East, with China as the final destination. Again, this was a huge tanker that went ALS dark on March 20th en route to Iran, loaded up, crossed during the Navy blockade there, and is off into the Sri Lankan, Indonesian Lombok Strait on its way to China, which again does not help Donald Trump's comments and what he was saying about everything being, friendly, everything being nice, everybody, obeying the blockade. Nobody's kind of acting out of order. Here's another one here. This is MB Galabaf. And this is what kills me too. This is what kills me about this shit. Donald Trump time and time again says they don't have leaders in Iran. We don't know who to talk to. We have they're fighting with each other. They don't know who's in charge. Meanwhile, we continuously go back to the same people for their insight because they're the spokespeople, because they're the head of either the IRGC or the embassy or the foreign ministry, or they have some power within the government. Like, it's clear that everybody seems to be going back to the same people, whether it's Aragchi, whether it's Galabaf, right, or some of the other players that we talk about and use their statements from the other side. So the fact that he says continuously that there's no leadership, nobody knows who's in charge, is clearly bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, even that point of his talking points is stupid. And the press would it'd be so easy for the press to just push back on that. Well, how do we continue to talk to these same people? Why do we continuously look to these people for their statements, right? And why do their statements seem to be more truthful than what we're hearing from the United States side the majority of the time? It's crazy to me. But this was MB Galabaf, and this was a few days ago, but still, I think it gives kind of good insight into the mindset of these people and how they're not likely to capitulate. They're not kind of on the verge of giving up like Donald Trump would have you believe. So this is saying they brag about the cards. Let's see. Supply cards equal demand cards. So he says here, SOH partly played. So Strait of Hormuz partly played. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait unplayed. So there is, again, another threat of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait right here. Again, it's kind of coded, but that's what you can tell. So the Strait of Hormuz partly played means they still have further they can go in control of the Strait of Hormuz, as told here by MB Galabaf. And then it goes here, plus the Bab el-Mandeb Strait unplayed, plus pipelines unplayed equals involuntary release played. Actually, what's INV? INV release. I'm not sure what that one is. Plus demanded destruction partly played equals more price adjustment to come. Add summer vacation to the right unless they want to cancel it for the U.S. So again, take that for what you will with a grain of salt, but it still doesn't show somebody that's like, talking about negotiations, that's talking about coming to the table, that's talking about peace agreements, or not having the war kick back off as far as missiles and drones going back and forth between Iran, Israel, the Middle East, the United States, the Navy, and the whole thing is concerned. That's not what I'm getting from that statement. You know what I mean? I know it's a few days ago at this point, but, it's kind of a continued theme by these people of defiance, of not kind of going with what Donald Trump has been saying, directly calling him out at every single turn where Donald Trump is lying on his Truth Social account. Again, this is just, flying in the face of what the Trump administration, the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth is trying to convey, is trying to portray as far as the situation on the ground. So this is why we're kind of just going through all of these different statements, all of the different pieces of information that we can to kind of come to our own conclusion. Because, you cannot trust anything that this government is saying, whether it's the FBI, whether it's the DOJ, whether it's the Pentagon, whether it's the DNI, whether it's the Supreme Court, whether it's the House, the Senate. None of these fucking people are telling the truth, can tell the truth, or are able to tell the truth at this point. Again, if it doesn't fly, if it doesn't directly go to serve and to benefit the president of the United States, Donald Trump, the great Fuhrer, then again, they're just going to lie through their teeth, to save their own ass. So here's another one of these accounts that we've been looking at. This is Dolph in Iran, who seems to have some close ties. I don't know if he's kind of set up his official ties yet. Not much official statements as far as that's concerned, but he seems to be on point and having, direct connections to people in the Iranian side for at least their statements and stuff. So something that we've been looking at. This is May 1st. He put out there, CENTCOM has presented limited operations plan to Trump. This plan includes a multi-day attack that the United States believes it can conclude within a limited time frame. Sound familiar? Like, doesn't that sound exactly like not only Operation Midnight Hammer, but also the original undertaking of this war? Like, don't worry, we'll be able to do this in just a couple days. Limited operations, limited air attacks, just a few more thousand targets we have to hit, and we'll have this thing ended. They'll be sure to capitulate. They'll be sure to give up. And that says to me that they haven't learned anything about the Iranian people, about the Iranian regime and their religious, fanaticism, right? Doesn't seem to me like they've learned anything about their willingness to kind of stick together, even with the regime that they're not in favor of, against the Western powers, against the United States in general, right? Obviously, because of the war crimes we've seen committed, obviously because of the thousands of deaths that we're responsible for inside Iran already. But again, it's not showing me that the United States or Israel is likely or willing to continue negotiations or a push towards peace talks, and that they're already locked and loaded, like they've talked about, like their rhetoric says, on escalations, on further strikes, on missile drone, activity, as opposed to blockades and what we've seen over the last couple weeks. So that's what this is telling me. So we go on here. It says also messages exchanged through diplomatic channels continue. No signs of seriousness from the U.S. are observed. This is also May 1st. Reported the alert level regarding the combination of various information related to energy movements has been raised. Again, these are just kind of updates that we're trying to get at to see what the hell is actually taking place. Let's see here. This says intelligence assessment. Trump, beyond the current actions in the fields of diplomacy and war, is contemplating a surprise operation beyond existing scenarios to extricate himself from the situation of defeat against Iran. Again, showing that they have either intel or suspicions to believe that the United States is going to strike or is more ready or willing to strike than they are to continue negotiations. This is posted May 2nd. Operational assessment. Despite the extensive transfer of equipment, the United States has not been able to reconstruct its radar infrastructure in the region. And that'll play a huge part when we talk about the next story that we'll be bringing up. Basically, CNN's reporting and the AIE's reporting on the substantial damage sustained by the Middle Eastern bases and kind of the actions taken by the military to make sure that people aren't on those bases. Like we said, it doesn't really go to show the conquering military being chased off of your bases in the Middle East, leaving these bases basically in ruin, in the Middle East, the ones that have been attacked by multiple Shaheeds, multiple drones, multiple missile strikes. Doesn't, again, show the power and control of a conquering military. I'm just, throwing that one out there. There's another one that goes on to talk about. Am I not showing the right one to you guys? My apologies. At least I was reading them out to you guys. This is from May 2nd as well. The U.S. government intends to argue to Congress that in an event of a new conflict, the previous conflict has ended, and this is a new war. And again, as ridiculous as that sounds, I wouldn't put it past this fucking administration, would you? Right? Would you put it past Pete Hegseth or Donald Trump to try to convince Congress or the American people that, like, the war before the ceasefire or the war before the blockade was its own war? And that this, like, second action in the second round of strikes that we're about to undertake deserves to have the clock reset as far as congressional authorization, right? I mean, let me see what you guys are thinking. Would you guys put it past that? Because, again, I know we have to take everything that we hear from both sides with a huge grain of salt, right? That's why we're trying to, look at both sides, what they're saying, and then we come together in the middle somewhere to come to reality, to come to a conclusion on what we're likely seeing, I should say, and what we're likely to see in the future. So I understand there's no definitives here. There's no, right or wrong way to try to figure out where we are or where we're going to be. But this is kind of the best way that I know how. Just look at what both sides are saying, look at it, look at what you're seeing on the ground, and then kind of try to come to the facts of the matter. You know what I mean? But Would you guys put it past Pete Hegseth for saying that, or Donald Trump, or Marco Rubio, or any of these other idiots for being like, no, these are two separate wars. We got to like slice it down the middle. There's no way. We don't need congressional authorization because we didn't. It really goes 60 days in the first half, and now this second half of the second round of strikes we're going to enact. Like, let's give that war a different name. You know what I mean? Sounds kind of in line with what this administration would absolutely try to attempt. So obviously something we're going to have to keep our eye on. And it's not that far away from what Pete Hegseth is saying right now, as far as like, the ceasefire means, a timeout. The ceasefire means you got to stop the clock, coach. It's like I said the other day on the show. It's like a little kid. You playing hide and seek with the little kid, and the little kid knows that you saw him. The little kid knows that you're going to catch him wherever he is and calls a timeout. Like, timeout, can I hide somewhere else? Like, that's what I feel like this fucking regime is doing right now. Like, timeout. I know we're about to get screwed. I know we're about to get caught in the act of, conducting a war without congressional approval. I know the timeline has run out. I know it said it was going to be 2 to 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, and here we are, this long into it. But, let's do a timeout. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I feel like they're trying to do right now. This says here also that from May 3rd, this is posted May 3rd, strategic assessment. Contrary to Trump's tweets and statements, the messaging exchange trend indicates that the United States is neither serious nor willing to reach a meaningful agreement on key negotiating issues. Again, depicting the lackluster, I don't even know what you call it at this point, but the lackluster attempts at negotiating by both sides, or probably mainly at this point by Donald Trump. Considering that, as much as you may disagree with kind of the demands being put forth by the other side, at least they're putting forth their demands. But there's another one here, and we'll go through the CNN article after this. This is Aragchi, and I hope I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not, but just a couple posts to look at what the other side's saying. And again, Aragchi is, what's his definitive title? He's the foreign minister to the Islamic Republic of Iran. So again, a leader, somebody that may have, some idea at least of what Iran's going to do, what they're saying, and where they're going. Again, flying in the face of Donald Trump saying that we don't know who to look to, we don't know who to talk to, we don't know who their leaders are. Well, I guess we're looking at a few of them here in what they've been saying. But he posted here, this is ridiculous again. He says, today is Persian Gulf Day in Iran, making our ancestors' expulsion of the Portuguese from the Strait of Hormuz 400 years ago. POTUS uses the correct term, Persian Gulf, not the Pentagon's fake version, but calling Hormuz anything else indeed is a terrible mistake, right? And you can tell here that they're kind of making fun of Donald Trump, not only for calling it the Strait of Trump, but recognizing that they have it on his little post there, the Persian Gulf. So kind of, a little shot to the ribs there. This is also what he posted. This is May 1st. The Pentagon is lying. Netanyahu's gamble has directly cost America $1 billion so far, 4 times what is claimed. Indirect costs for U.S. taxpayers are far higher. Monthly bill for each American household is $500 and rising fast. Israel first always means America last. So again, pointing out the fact that I believe it was one of Donald Trump's, part of Donald Trump, one of people in Donald Trump's administration who tried to claim that the United States has only spent about $25 billion so far on the war in Iran, which is ridiculously low. And I don't think they have any justification or any numbers or stats to back that one up. Just the Iran war tracker alone, which is a conservative estimate at $1 billion a day, is up around $70 billion at this point. And again, add on the, expenditures of the munitions, add on the, the cost of all the military infrastructure that was either destroyed or, kind of left to rot, as we'll look at, then, you can see how, exponential the costs go up. But let's see here. This was kind of the last post that I saw. I welcome the selection of the framework for appointing the prime minister, and I congratulate my brother. And again, that probably doesn't have anything to do with it. Iran affirms its respect for Iraq's sovereignty, and its support for political stability, development, and enhancing cooperation in a manner that serves the interests of both people. So let's just see here. I think I had one more to take a look at as well. There's one here. Oh yeah, this is another one here. This is by Drop Site News, just to kind of give you an indication of where we're going. This is reported Drop Site News 16 hours ago. At least 41 people were killed and 89 wounded in Israeli attacks across Lebanon over the past 24 hours, the health ministry said, bringing the total since Israel escalated its campaign on March 2nd to 2,659 killed and 8,183 injured. 2 back-to-back strikes on motorcycles in the Saur district killed 3 people in recent hours, while additional strikes hit buildings in the Dawr Der Zarani and Zewatir Sharkia, Nabati. I know I butchered those, and I apologize, as well as the Shrifa and Kana, where a vehicle strike wounded several passengers in the Lower Orient today. So again, this is probably not going to play well as far as the Iranian side. We've talked long about how the peace in Lebanon and the fact that the Israeli military was to stop all of their military action in Lebanon against Hezbollah was part of the original negotiations and continued to play a big part in whether or not the Iranians even came to the negotiating table. So again, this is probably not going to play well as far as peace talks, as far as not seeing escalations, and especially the retaliations that we know are going to come from any actions that are undertaken by the Israeli military in conjunction with the United States military to, again, take out more targets, more leadership, whatever it may be that they're going to try to do anyway. But let's just see here. There was a few of these. See if there's anything else reported that we could touch base on, get any insight from here. Iraq routes oil through Syria for the first time in 14 years as Hormuz closure batters economy. A convoy of 70 Iraqi crude oil tankers crossed into Syria via the Al Urabiya border crossing on Friday, the first such shipment through the route since the Syrian civil war shut it down since 2011, according to the Syria's Sana news agency. Again, Donald Trump was actually questioned about this. Basically, Iran getting permission to use land routes, and I know that isn't probably the most, it's probably not giving them everything that they need, but the fact that they're in any way getting around the naval blockade by the United States of the Strait is not a good look for the United States, is not a good look for Donald Trump. Donald Trump was questioned about this and the land routes that are now being utilized by the Iranians to get this stuff out to the places in which they need to make the money from it. And he basically said he had nothing but good things to say about, I believe it was the leader of Iraq, if I'm not mistaken, basically said nothing about the routes that were opened up by them to the Iranians or anything of anything like that. But, it just goes to show the fact that he's unwilling to basically recognize the optics that people are getting around his bullshit, that the blockade is not having the impact or effect that he's saying that it's having, not saying that it's not having any impact whatsoever, but it's just not having the impact that Donald Trump is stating, right? This war is not over like he's stating. Just every single thing that we look at flies in the face of what Donald Trump is trying to say. And that is more of this as well. Like, this is kind of a big story that people have been talking about as well, because I brought up, I think it was a few weeks ago at this point, if not about a month ago at this point, where the Trump administration was working with different kind of satellite imagery companies to cover up the damage that you could see from these satellite images to the U.S. bases in the Middle East, making it so people couldn't, determine the efficacy of the Iranian drones or missiles that were attacking these bases. But we're getting more information coming out now, whether it's per CNN or the AEI. So let's see if we can dive into just a couple of these different articles. And I think there was one video here. It's like a 3-minute video put out by CNN that gives us kind of good insight as to what's being held back, the lies that we were being told, and kind of the extensive damage that was done to the U.S. military bases after Iranian strikes. This is the Palestine Chronicle. Again, there's multiple outlets reporting on this. I just brought this up to show you that it wasn't just the normal everyday people talking about this. So this is here. CNN reveals extensive damage to U.S. military bases after Iranian strikes. CNN says Iranian attacks damaged at least 16 U.S. military sites across 8 Middle Eastern countries. Reports indicate several radar, communications, and missile defense systems were destroyed or disabled. And again, pointing to the sites and the tweets from the accounts that we were just looking at, talking about the fact that the United States has not yet been able to rebuild or reconstruct its radar capabilities on these bases, seems to kind of go along with this reporting. So, gives, kind of corroborates some of the things that we're looking at from these other accounts. And again, as much as of a grain of salt you need to take the information with, it's good to see that, a lot of it does kind of line up where we needed to. So it goes on here to state that the Pentagon's publicly stated $25 billion war cost reportedly excludes major reconstruction expenses. And again, it's bullshit just in and of itself. Right on the face of it, $25 billion is ridiculous as far as what we've expended so far is well beyond that. Sources estimate actual cost may reach 40 to 50 billion once repairs and replacements are included. And again, that's even a lowball estimate. Iranian strikes reportedly targeted strategically valuable and difficult to replace U.S. military infrastructure. And this is, again, in the same reporting where Pete Hegseth was pretty much calling our military service members liars. The people that were interviewed from these bases that said that they had no warning, no sirens went off, no air defense capabilities were kind of trucked in, shipped in based off of the knowledge that these sites would be hit, that they would be fucking targeted by the Iranians in retaliation for the U.S. strikes, right? Nothing like that was done to, to help prepare for or to give extra protection to the service members on these bases. No, we talked about how they were fucking removed and put up in hotels. They were working remotely. These bases are just kind of left there now to rot with the fucking damage still being done to them. It's crazy. This goes on to talk about the widespread damage. A CNN investigation reported that the Iranian strikes during the U.S.-Israeli military aggression on Iran damaged at least 16 military sites across 8 Middle Eastern countries. According to the report, the affected facilities represent a majority of U.S. military positions in the region. CNN cited satellite imagery, damage assessments, and interviews with U.S. and Gulf sources indicating that several installations suffered significant operational damage, with some becoming effectively unusable. So basically, we got our ass fucking run out of some of these bases, right? We got our asses chased out of the Middle East per some of these bases, basically. There has been a spectrum of assessments. One source familiar with the damage evaluations told CNN, from pretty dramatic side of the whole facility is destroyed and needs to be shut down to leaders say who say these things are worth repairing due to the strategic benefit they give the U.S. So basically, it ranges from the entire base and half the side of it's been blown off to, maybe we might be able to go in there and start repairing some of these things. It goes on here to talk about the radar and defense systems targeted. The cost estimates far higher than official figures. So it says the report stated that the Iranian strikes focused heavily on advanced radar systems, communications, infrastructure, missile defense assets, and aircraft deployed throughout the region. Among the reported losses were radar systems connected to the American THAAD missile batteries in Jordan and radar installations at sites at the United Arab Emirates, again, utilizing, Chinese help. Russian help to target these different places to make sure that they could get through the United States air defenses and past the Iron Dome defenses as well. In a separate report, CNN challenged the Pentagon's public estimate of the war's financial cost, citing sources who said the true figure is significantly higher once damage to U.S. military infrastructure is included. Acting Pentagon Comptroller Julie Hurst III told lawmakers Wednesday that the war had cost the United States taxpayers approximately $25 billion so far. However, CNN reported that the figure does not include the cost of rebuilding damaged military infrastructure or replacing destroyed equipment. And again, this was a pretty extensive report here. I'll throw this up on the screen as well. This is AEI estimating wartime damage to U.S. military bases in the Middle East as part of Operation Epstein Fury. 70 structures, 11 U.S. military bases overseas, 7 countries, $5 billion in damage. The damage inflicted by Iranian forces on American and allied bases in the Middle East during the opening weeks of Operation Epstein Fury will reap financial consequences. Not only will America's now degraded forward troop presence change as a result, but the deliberations over what to rebuild will be time-consuming and consequential. After rebuilding and repairs, U.S. military forces posture across Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan, and Iraq is likely to shift locations and shrink in the Gulf overall. The remaining open question for allies and partners is if the U.S. bases are still a net benefit to their security if America's munition stockpiles are shallow and its air defenses limited. So again, this is like a bunch of different reporting now kind of coming head to head. So the reporting of the substantial damage sustained by these bases now coming head to head with the reporting of the inadequate stockpiles that Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump have left us. And again, whether that's just regarding our ability to fight the Iran war, or again, the ability to fight multiple wars, if in fact, the necessity comes for the United States military to do that, which is in fact something they need to be ready to do, able to do at the time. So again, it doesn't bode well for any escalations that are likely to come when we're continuously talking about the low stockpiles, low interceptors, our allies in the region, and how they've been worried about their low interceptors for quite some time as well. But it still goes on here. Americans' munition stockpiles are shallow and its air defense is limited. The implications for force planning and modernization could see disruptions depending on how the U.S. and Gulf governments answer this question. Estimated damage to U.S. bases by Iran. Talks about here. Country, Bahrain. Base, 5th Fleet Headquarters. Estimated damage, 2 SATCOM terminals, 2 radomes, 3 large warehouses. Iraq, 1 storage building. Jordan, 1 general administrative building. Kuwait, 3 hangars, part of the runway. 15 small warehouses, 1 maintenance shed. In Kuwait, 16 radomes, 14 of the large warehouses, 1 general administrative building, 1 maintenance shed. And it goes on here to list the extensive damage taken by these bases here. But again, this is also lining up with the reporting of this administration working together with the different satellite imagery companies to make sure that people couldn't look at the damage, couldn't see the damage for themselves here, right? So again, this is some pretty good reporting here done, and this goes on to talk about here. I think this was this one as well. I wanted to throw on the screen. Was it this one? Yeah, it was, because it was just this quick video detailing some more of this as well. This is posted by Republicans Against Trump. Unprecedented destruction. Majority of U.S. military sites in the Middle East damaged by Iran, CNN investigation reveals. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth desperately tried to keep the extent of the damage from the public so people wouldn't see how badly this was botched. Now the images are coming out and they're disturbing. So again, this is just about 3 minutes and 30 seconds long from CNN detailing not only the damage, but also, I believe, the cover-up in which the administration was engaged in to make sure that nobody could see, again, how badly this whole thing had been botched from the beginning. So I just want to see if we could take a look at this as well.
Camp Buehring, Kuwait. American soldiers enjoying a karaoke night at one of the biggest U.S. military hubs in the Gulf. That was then. This is now. A once bustling American microcity in the desert, nearly empty and heavily damaged after a weeks-long barrage of Iranian missiles and drones. One of many U.S. military facilities in the oil-rich Arabian Peninsula, targeted by Iran even as the U.S. and Israel pummeled the Islamic Republic's large arsenal. So what impact have Iran's strikes had on America's footprint in the Middle East? A CNN investigation found evidence of unprecedented destruction. We can reveal that strikes damaged at least 16 U.S. installations across 8 countries. According to our analysis and sourcing, that's the majority of American military positions in the region, and some of them are virtually unusable now. A U.S. source familiar with the situation told us that they'd never seen anything like this at American bases, that these were rapid, targeted strikes using advanced technology. Iran's main targets? Multi-million-dollar aircraft, like this Boeing E-3 Sentry, which gave the U.S. a huge amount of visibility over the Gulf. It's out of production, and in today's money, it's worth nearly $500 million. Critical communications equipment. Look at these giant golf balls. They're known as radomes, and they protect satellite dishes vital for data transmission. In this base alone, Iran destroyed all but one of the radomes less than a month into the war. And crucially, radar systems. Highly sophisticated, expensive, difficult to replace, and critical to air defense.
And again, these are the satellite images that the Trump administration desperately didn't want you to see, that wanted to make sure that nobody was privy to see the damage being sustained by these U.S. bases, again, where they're trying to tout ultimate victory, right, where they're trying to tout the fact that the Iranians are on the verge of capitulation. We won this thing in day 2. Meanwhile, we're hearing this and seeing these things, again, doesn't comport, right? It doesn't line up with what they're telling us. Doesn't look like a victorious nation, somebody that is the conquering military that can do, say, and control anything they want. That's just not what we're seeing here, which is, again, giving us even more concern when we're looking at an escalatory action, probably more likely than any negotiations are likely in the next, in the next stage of this war.
Second U.S. source, this one a congressional aide familiar with damage assessments, described these as the most cost-effective of the targets. Our radar systems, they said, are our most expensive and our most limited resource in the region. For U.S. allies in the region, there's a dilemma. In some ways, Iran's show of force makes the U.S.'s presence in the region even more necessary to Gulf security. But there's a new reality here, which is that U.S. military installations, previously seen as formidable fortresses, have turned into sitting targets. As a Saudi source told me, the war has shown Saudi Arabia, that's the U.S.'s longest-standing Arab ally, that the alliance with the U.S. cannot be exclusive, and it is not, in their words, impregnable. To get a sense of just how vulnerable U.S. facilities have become, have a look at this. It's the war room at Qatar's El Udeid Air Base, the theater command and control hub for U.S. air power across 21 nations. Struck not just once, but twice, and according to a U.S. source, causing significant damage. The base had been largely evacuated at this point, and no casualties were reported.
But again, even the fact that that base had to be evacuated, right, and not just kind of, rebuffed with some fucking more air defense systems. If we're like this hugely capable military, we have all the weaponry in the world. Donald Trump says somehow we've doubled our stockpile. We've doubled our munitions since the war started. Again, try to get that through your thick skulls and how that makes sense, especially with the reporting that we've seen and talked about for quite some time now. The fact that we somehow like just managed to double our stockpiles, like Trump says, is crazy. But anyway, the fact that like these bases had to be evacuated is not a good look, even if they weren't struck. The fact that they weren't confident enough in their air defense systems, in their control or power in the region to keep people on the base, right? That's a show right there. That's a sign to the other side that they're not as powerful, they're not as kind of confident as they portray themselves to be in the area. When you got people working from fucking hotels because their bases are being attacked by drones and missiles, that doesn't show me strength. That's not what that says to me.
Iran's visibility over its targets has never been clearer. In 2024, according to the Financial Times, Tehran secretly acquired a Chinese satellite known as the TEE-01B, a massive upgrade from its own satellites.
And again, something else that we've been talking about for quite some time, the Chinese and Russian help with the Iranians and getting through the air defense systems, being able to more accurately target the U.S. bases, to more accurately target the equipment on those bases. And Donald Trump, in his 90-minute phone call with Vladimir Putin, you think he brought this up at all, right? You think he's talked about how Xi Jinping has been helping the Iranians or kind of putting any pressure on him to stop or anything? No, I haven't heard anything. In fact, I think there's a meeting planned where I'm sure it's not going to be brought up as well.
That means that Tehran went from looking at images of this quality to this. This is the first time America has fought an adversary with satellites that capture high-res imagery almost as detailed as its own. As the scale of the damage comes into focus, many will wonder whether America's presence, once a protective shield in the Middle East, has turned into its Achilles heel.
And again, it goes on there in the reporting to basically detail what these bases are now. And a lot of them are just kind of like ghost towns, right? A lot of them are just kind of sitting there. A lot of them are still bombed out. A lot of them are still getting kind of destroyed by this, that, or the other thing, whether it's just the weather taking their toll on them now, nobody being there to upkeep the bases, or again, people lobbing drones and missiles into these fucking things. A lot of that's not, again, showing me a conquering military. That's not what that does. Oh, thank you so much, I Smoke and I Know. Thanks. I appreciate that for becoming a new member. Thank you guys for everybody contributing over there. I see you, Moms. I see you, Wes. I see you, Slacks. Thank you, Slacks. I see you in there, brother. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Blunt Front. And thank you, I Smoke and I Know Things. I really do appreciate you guys in there in the chat, gifting away in there and making sure this show has a way to keep going. Make sure you guys stick around to the end of the show, and I'll give you guys the time you deserve. I'll more adequately thank you guys for your contributions to the show. So I appreciate you guys, everybody that's gifted in there. Multiple ways in which you could do so. The Venmo up here, probably the quickest, most direct way to send over a little contribution to the show. $1 or $2 is all we ask for. Nothing too substantial. Anything above and beyond that is 100% up to you or not, depending on your financial capabilities. Again, a YouTube membership's less than a gallon of gas right now, so probably one of the better times that you're going to get value for that. And what else? You can send a super sticker, super chat into the old Chatsky there. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for anybody getting the merch over at bostonbrian.com. Check out that merch shop. some fantastic opposition resistance merch going into midterms to let people know where you stand, let people know what side of history you're on. So again, I appreciate everybody supporting all of that. But this is, again, some huge reporting here that, kind of everybody should be talking about. The reporters should be questioning Pete Hegseth and everybody else on as far as that's concerned, and the lies that they're telling not only the United States, but also the world as far as their not only military capabilities, but also the military capabilities of the Iranians that they say they've wiped out time and time and time again. How many reports we have to bring up that fly in the face of everything that we're being told? They say that their military has been eradicated. The United States says that there's no more Iranian military. They have no more capabilities. Meanwhile, we talk about that they have anywhere from 40 to 70% of their missile and drone stockpiles left. And the more they continuously dig out as far as launch sites and stuff, that number just continues to go up, right? So they still have their use of the Chinese satellites. They still have, knowledge of where these bases are. They have knowledge of where the United States Navy is as far as their blockade. Like, I just don't understand where they think they get off saying that, like, the Iranians have zero capabilities, as they were shooting down planes not all that long ago. But again, that brings us to some of the everyday. This is the news. I'm going to start calling this the news. I know some people call it propaganda, but I'm just going to call it the news from now on. There's a couple more of these Lego videos I want to dive into. I think there's a couple new players. I'm not really familiar with this one per se, but this one is called Pete Heggy. So again, any of these Lego videos that's going after Pete Hegseth, I'm willing to play. I'm willing to give a shot. Didn't dive into this yet. Wanted to catch it with you guys. I know you guys tend to like these things, as a lot of people do. So I got this one, and I think one more from Persia Boy, the OG of the Lego videos after this. So this isn't, again, Congress shuts down Hegseth, $1.5 trillion war budget chaos, Flow Lego, Pete Heggy. So we'll see what trouble we can get into in this one. And again, was saying this is not one of the OGs, so bear with me if it's not if it's not up to your standards. But again, any one of these that's going after Pete Hegseth or anybody in this administration, I'm going to give a shot to. So what do you say we dive into this one again? Fake hero traitor press conference live, as said here in the background. Pete Heggy. What do you say?
Pete Heggy, you're a fake ass hero. Pete Heggy.
Well, I like it already. I'm in. All right, I'm sold.
Military zero. Pete Heggy. Money down to the low. Pete Heggy. Watch the system go. Yeah. Mouton asked the question, are we winning the war? You said absolutely, while you're headed for the floor. The strait is still closed, Iran's at the door. You're a puppet in the suit of corporate war. Accurate, they laughed at your face. You're a national joke, a total disgrace.
I like how they're trying to they're trying to represent his tattoos on the Lego.
Running your mouth all over the place while the troops are dying in that empty space. Pete Heggy. You're a
Pete Heggy.
fake ass hero. Pete Heggy. Military zero. Pete Heggy. Money down.
Oh, the Hague.
To the low.
You see that one? He was standing in front of the Hague. The Hague calling. So again, talking about the war crimes obviously committed by the U.S. military under Pete Hegseth's leadership there at the Pentagon.
Pete Heggy. Money down to the low. Pete Heggy. Watch the system go. Kinda asked the price of the kids in the dust. You said I don't discuss cause you got no trust. 25 billion on a trillion is a must. The whole Pentagon is covered in rust. No quarter, no mercy is a war crime clear. The Hague is calling and I smell the fear. You hugged the crimes and you held them.
The Hague is calling and I smell the fear.
But the end of your career is finally here. A little bird, a little birdie told me about your podium slip. Secretary of fart, you're losing your grip. Threaten maximum violence and you let one rip. The only thing you're bombing is your own shit.
What they say, you're practicing your violence, but you're letting them rip. Please tell me that was about the video going around that they thought, Pete Hegseth basically shit himself during one of his press conferences.
You call the Democrats the enemy of the state, while you're the one deciding every soldier's fate. Locked in your ego, it's getting too late. The world is cheering for your expiration day. Pete Heggy.
I can't get over get over the Pete Heggie. Like, they don't even give him the respect anymore of saying his whole last name. You know what I mean? They don't even give him that respect anymore. It's just Pete Heggie.
Vegas hero. Pete Heggie. Military zero. Pete Heggie. Money down to the low.
I like that one. All right. So coming up with some new ideas and new routes to go after Pete Hegseth, I'm okay with it. I'm cool with it. Again, doesn't seem to be making anything up, just going off of the news and the bullshit that we know about Pete Hegseth. But then there's the OG Persia boy. He's got one here called Empire Lies. So I want to see if we can get into this one with you as well. See if we can check this one out real quick.
Yeah. Empire back at the podium again. Spinning lies while Iran holds the line.
Good. You know what I mean? The fact that we're like, gathered around, like, oh shit, the new Lego drops on. Like, it's fucking crazy. It really is. But again, show me the propaganda, show me the lies. I don't see them. All I see is kind of like the news reporting, everything that we're discussing, all of the things that are happening on the ground in reality. They just put in a video. That's kind of what I'm seeing.
Empire lies. Cheat every deal, biggest hypocrite alive. Sign the paper, then bomb it every single time. I ain't patient, we keep our word, stay dignified. Yeah, we sit at the table, keep every single word. You shake the hand and bomb us like it never occurred. JCPOA was working the world, watch us comply. You ripped it up anyway, sanctions flying high.
I probably should have said this is drums of war are beating. Trump's tweet lies while the U.S. cheats on every deal. Sacred defense.
Negotiations, you strike, you attack, you lie, then cry when we respond with the measured reply. 17 bases destroyed. Now your own media admits it. You got wrecked.
Jesus Christ. We literally just went over that reporting. And it's already in a Lego video. Literally just talked about how the 17 bases were hit. That's what I was talking about, the CNN article. It's already in the Lego video. I could have just skipped that entire segment of going through the CNN reporting and the AEI research that they've done there and just showed the Lego video. I'm serious. We could have just played the Lego video and I could have gotten as much information across as the articles did, probably.
And still plaguing the Empire lies. Cheat every deal, biggest hypocrite alive. Sign the paper, then bomb it every single time. We're impatient, we keep our word, stay dignified. Yeah, why should I negotiate with terrorists at all? Epstein class pedophiles running your government. Trump on his knees, slave to Netanyahu's commands. I and his puppet doing whatever BB demands. Who the real terrorists? The ones who bomb while we talk, or the ones who keep their word and never strike first? Drums of war are beating. We hear them loud and clear. We do not
switch it up.
War, but the choice ain't ours, my dear. Empire lies. Cheat every deal, biggest hypocrite alive. Drums of war are beating. We are patient, we are strong. We do not want war, but if you attack, do so at your own risk. Iran will respond tenfold. Feel the iron fist. Empire lies. 17 bases down, the whole world knows the truth. Iran still standing tall. Sacred defense. Sacred defense. We keep our word. Sacred defense. We keep our word. Drums of war are beating. We see you. We are waiting. Sacred defense.
So the latest drop there by Persia Boy, as far as the Lego bangers are concerned. And again, like I said, there's a lot of people kind of hopping into the game, but you can always tell the OGs, right? You can always tell the OGs when they come into play. So we appreciate Persia Boy for getting the news out there, basically. I mean, what else can you say as far as those are concerned? There's really not too much. All of the little details and the Easter eggs in there are spot on by my assessment. So I appreciate you guys and your enjoyment of those. And, as long as you guys keep liking them, we'll keep showing them. And as long as they're continuing to kind of, relay the truth, as it were, we'll keep showing them. So, I appreciate you guys for hitting that like button, sticking around on those ones, as it were. But there's a lot we have to dive into. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Like I said, I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day on this Sunday to chat about a little politics, as it were. I don't really see the bullshit that Donald Trump's talking about to kind of wrap that segment up. I don't really buy any of the bullshit, to say the least, as it pertains to this like new deal put forth by Iran, the air of negotiation in the wind. Like, I'm not buying it. Again, everything else behind the scenes is kind of looking at and kind of pointing towards, an escalatory action happening, more bombing. more targets being struck, more military force, more military use as opposed to less. So again, something we're gonna have to keep our eye on. But as far as the gas prices and what you guys are feeling, just to kind of give everybody another update, this is what we're dealing with. This is the effects. This is kind of what our government does and is continuing to do to us on a daily basis. The price increases, I'm sure, in your area are beyond kind of anything that you've seen before, especially kind of self-inflicted wounds. Being as a result of from that is crazy. Look at the what's this right here? Highest recorded average price diesel, $5.81 on 6/19/22. Regular unleaded is $5.01 on 6/14/22. So again, we're at $4.44. So you guys do the math on how long this is going to continue to happen, how long those prices are going to continue to spike, and where inevitably it kind of ends as far as that's concerned. But Trump's lies from one side, kind of pure opposition is coming from the other side, as far as, their negotiating points are still their negotiating points. And if they're not met, then they have nowhere to talk to. There are no talks to happen, and it's going to have to be some sort of military action that's going to have to break this, break this kind of, I don't know what you'd want to call it at this point, but it's kind of like a stalemate on water, right? Like the Strait of Hormuz and the blockade, they're closing the strait. Meanwhile, we're blockading the closed strait. So, in order to see any kind of resolution to this conflict, it almost looks like escalation is exactly where both sides are leaning towards, as opposed to, again, negotiations, peace talks, anything that would, stop these bombings and stuff from continuing. But that doesn't seem to be on the horizon. But I know what is on the horizon is really high gas prices. That is something that we can 100% say everybody is now dealing with. But all right, let's see if we can dive on to this next story, this next article. I wanted to bring up this next clip because boy, oh boy, is shit burning in Russia. Holy shnikes. Last show, we talked about, I believe, the Tuapse refinery and also the Perm strikes by the Ukrainians. Well, they're back at it because they are just not allowing these fires to go out. I believe now for the fourth time, the Ukrainians in the last few weeks have struck the Tuapse refinery. And there's been some other actions and some other very, very effective strikes undertaken by the Ukrainians. There's also some great documentaries that have been put out. So please remind me if I forget about it in the middle of these couple videos to put the links in the chat for these, kind of documentaries. I think one was from the Kyiv Independent, and then I'll recall in a minute where the other one was from. But this is from The Sun. And this is Ukraine smashes oil refineries deep inside Russia as paranoid Putin humiliated over V-Day parade. Right. So, again, they've been scaling down their V-Day parade. We know how important, Victory Day is for the Russians. It's basically a religion. So to see them kind of breaking down their stands, telling their citizens that, basically don't expect much and kind of expect less than we were even talking about to begin with is kind of a smack in the face to Vladimir Putin and is a clear sign of humiliation. So I just wanted to see if we could dive into a couple minutes of this Sun video here, kind of detailing some of the recent strikes by the Ukrainians on these Russian oil facilities and a little bit of the humiliation that Putin is feeling. And then what's this other video here? I got a few of them I want to dive into. Another one here from the Kyiv Independent. And then I got another one here from Denis Davidov. And then I think I even have another one here from United 24. So a lot to get to. A lot to try to talk about, a lot to catch up on as far as Ukraine is concerned. I really do appreciate you guys sticking with me and joining me for all things, inside and domestic inside of the United States, but also following me as we explore our passions for helping and supporting people also outside of the United States as well. So let's dive into this. Hit that like button if you can. Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava. Appreciate you guys for joining me.
Ukraine has hit the Tuapse oil refinery for the fourth time in
It's crazy. Oops, sorry.
In 2 weeks, provoking a very rare admission from the Kremlin that Ukraine's strategy is working. And Moscow has revealed there will be no tanks at their annual Victory Day parade for fear.
Where's all the tanks? Where's all the fucking tanks, Russia? How come no tanks? You guys were well known for having, so many military vehicles and such a long parade with all of your fucking equipment going past and past and past, and a lot of times just kind of repainting the numbers on the tanks to make it seem like they're different tanks. But they can't even do that this year. Like, they can't even come up with enough tanks this year to even fake that they have a fucking substantial military force to get through these fucking parades. What a bunch of assholes.
of Ukraine's long-range drones.
And again, I think this is Jerome Stocky reporting here.
Kharkiv again. My name is Jerome Starkey. I'm the defense editor at the Sun newspaper, and this is Frontline, your weekly roundup of the most important news from the war in Ukraine. We're starting with those continuous strikes on the Tuapse oil refinery and loading facilities on Russia's Black Sea
Shit. And
coast.
again, we've been covering this for the last couple weeks, and the Ukrainians just keep hammering away out of this. Again, not only showing their ability to continuously strike these targets, but the inability for the Russian air defenses to protect against these attacks, these targetings here, because you'd think after the first, second, maybe the third time that this was attacked in a couple weeks, if you had the ability to, you'd truck in some sort of defense systems. You'd make sure that this plant kind of was more protected than it was. But again, we discussed this on the last show. The fact that the Ukrainians can basically fly their drones basically over the sea the entire time in order to hit this port specifically makes it that much more difficult for the Russians to defend against it, basically having no option whatsoever to mitigate against these strikes whatsoever. So not only was the Tuapse refinery one that was struck, but we also talked about the Perm as well, another one of those that was struck basically a couple times, making it very difficult for the Russians to put this out, to control the damages being done and sustained by these fires that are raging.
Ukraine has hit that 4 times in the last 2 weeks, on the 16th, the 20th, the 28th of April, and now most recently on the 1st of May. The third strike provoked a rare reaction from President Putin. He talked about how Ukrainian drone strikes were becoming more frequent and hitting what he called civilian infrastructure. Now, the irony of those comments will not be lost on any of you. Of course, Russia has been hammering Ukraine's civilian energy infrastructure, particularly its power stations and its thermal heating plants over the course of this war. Thermal heating plants keep people's homes warm. That is civilian infrastructure. What Ukraine has been hitting is a combination of both Russia's oil infrastructure, its refining and its export capacity in order to harm the Kremlin's war chest, its coffers. And of course, we've also seen Ukraine hitting arms factories across Russia as well.
Look at that.
President Putin dispatched his
crazy.
emergency minister to Tuapse and some 300 emergency workers to help with containing,
Please, don't throw me into fire, man. Please.
controlling and clearing up the damage. But reports emerging on the 29th of April that those fires were under control. Hours later, they were hit again. And the Kremlin said that these strikes were, in their words, exacerbating the global shortage of oil. Now that's significant. That is exactly...
Again, fucking talk about the hypocrisy, right? Talk about the irony of not only the Russians talking about going after civilian infrastructure, but talking about, like, the damage going to be done to the world economy and shit like that. Well, guess what? You could have fucking prevented that easily by not sending your forces, your troops into a fucking territory that wasn't yours, right? By mass murdering, almost trying to mass murder an entire population to take over their territory, stealing their kids, raping, pillaging, plundering, entire villages, cities, that whole thing. Maybe if you didn't enact the war, we wouldn't have to be doing these things in retaliation. We wouldn't have to mitigate against the profits you're seeing in the rise in oil prices, or again, how you're allowed to keep your tanks going. You're allowed to keep your military going based off the use of this energy, based off the use of the oil and the profits from it. So again, that makes these legitimate and viable and justifiable military targets, as opposed to anything that the Russians are attacking inside of Ukraine, as far as apartment buildings, hospitals, schools, residential complexes in general, like they do on a nightly basis.
What Ukraine is trying to do. Of course, Kyiv has no desire to increase fuel prices for those of us around the world who have already been hit by the consequences of what's happening in Iran and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. But Kyiv is absolutely trying to limit Russian production and, crucially...
Yes, which is, again, their hand has been forced by the United States. The actions by the United States, in conjunction with Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel, has forced the spike in the cost per barrel of oil, which again has led to the profits increasing by the Russians based off of what they're able to export and sell as far as the oil. So that's forced the hand of the Ukrainians to have to take and continue their actions that they were already undertaken in trying to strike these different oil refineries and make sure that, Russia has a tough time either extracting or, exporting the oil to make profits from that. But we have forced their hand to do this. They are now having to do this so that Russia doesn't benefit from, benefit from the price of oil increases the way that they would be if, again, Ukraine wasn't undertaking these actions, if they weren't striking these different ports and refineries to make it so that the Russians are losing barrels as opposed to profiting from those barrels of oil that they'd be able to export. So again, it was the actions of Donald Trump in conjunction with Benjamin Netanyahu that have forced the hands of the Ukrainians to, again, focus more of their resources on these attacks and on these strikes.
Export opportunities of oil, because the Russian economy relies on hydrocarbon exports. The Kremlin relies on that income. And if Ukraine can starve the Kremlin
And again, I probably should have brought some of these up too, because some of the memes going around, he's got one on the screen here in case you're just listening. It's the Ukrainian symbol there, and it says I love the smell of two ops in the morning, and basically it's just what is supposed to be I would assume a shirtless Russian. Kind of looks to have like on a like an olden style U.S. military Civil War hat, but we'll look past that. But basically a huge cloud of black smoke behind him from obviously the fires burning at the 2 ops facility. But I love the symbol of the I love the smell of 2 ops in the morning here. But there's been a ton of these going around Telegram. There's been a ton of these going around Reddit and stuff. So my apologies for not putting these together, but some of them are fantastic.
That income, then potentially it can undermine the Russian war machine. We know that Tuapse halted production on the 16th of April. That site, that refinery, according to a Reuters report, has the capacity to refine around 240,000 barrels per day. That is a significant Russian refinery. Now, total Russian export capacity is quite hard to pin down. I've seen estimates, or rather refining capacity, exports ranging from 4.6 million barrels per day up to 6.5 million. Now, OPEC data suggested 4.6. A report by the Carnegie Foundation suggested 6.5 was its maximum refining capacity. That's 6.5 million barrels per day. Now,
and I just want to skip ahead real quick to where he talks about the parade and how the Russians are kind of scaling back their parade plans because of, again, the extended use of their military, the amount of equipment they've lost, and kind of the way in which they don't have it to kind of expend on these parades as well. So let's see if we can just jump into this quick, and then we'll go on to this really well done kind of documentary type style about the defense of the Donbas fortress belt, which is what we've been talking about on the last few shows, bringing up those cities that kind of create that belt that the Ukrainians are relying upon. So again, this is really well done by the Kyiv Independent. I'll bring that up next, but just another minute here of how they're talking about the Russians and Vladimir Putin and his humiliation as, again, they continue to scale back their May Day victory parade.
Crimea, Voronezh, about 240 kilometers from the closest held Ukrainian territory. That's in the north above Kharkiv. Let's talk about Russia's Victory Day Parade, due to take place on May 9th. This is when Russia celebrates the end of World War II, what Russia describes as the Great Patriotic War, which from Russia's point of view lasted from 1941, when they changed sides, until 1945. They celebrated on May 9th. The rest of the Allied forces celebrate Victory in Europe Day on May 8th. Normally, this occasion is marked by a great Soviet-style pomp and ceremony with tanks and armored vehicles and squadrons of men marching in lockstep through Red Square. So past the Kremlin, in front of President Putin, his top brass and invited dignitaries, often representatives of Russia's dwindling supply of allies. Now, what happens?
So we've all seen the videos. You guys are probably familiar with what the the May Day victory parades typically look like in Moscow, with the the military equipment and the artillery and the marching men and the dignitaries watching. But again, not really what we're expecting to see, and not what we've seen in quite some years. So again, nothing hugely surprising about this, but the fact that they love to say that they're obtaining their military objectives. Meanwhile, they don't seem to be getting any stronger on any part of the battlefield whatsoever, and in fact, are getting weaker on a lot of these parts in the battlefield. Flies in the face of, again, not only what Vladimir Putin is saying, but again, every one of the military commanders from him down is trying to portray as far as the strength of the Russian military.
At these parades is often closely watched around the world because it's supposed to be a show of Russian military might, and we would expect to normally see Russia's latest tanks, its latest military hardware, and usually nuclear weapons, so road-based nuclear weapons. It's a show of force, but There have been a couple of hiccups before. It was about a decade ago that a new T-14 Armata tank, which is supposed to be Russia's most advanced tank, broke down during rehearsals. Over the course of the war in Ukraine, we've seen the number of tanks, the number of military hardware reducing, clearly a consequence of the strains and the losses Russia's been suffering in Ukraine. This year, we're expecting to see soldiers marching, but no armored columns. That has been the message from the Kremlin. And the reason.
And again, no armored columns at a fucking Russian May Day victory parade is again something that's gonna send a signal, right? It's gonna send a signal to the people of Russia, as it has done in years past here during their full-scale invasion, where they haven't been able to put on the, the pomp and circumstance like they're normally, known to do as far as these parades are concerned. So it's another clear indication to the people of Russia that they're not as strong as they believe. They're not as strong as their leaders are portraying. They're not doing as well in this full-scale invasion as Vladimir Putin would have them believe. Doesn't that sound very similar to the situation that we're in here in the United States? Like not being able to trust or believe anything that comes from the government, like thinking the complete opposite. Honestly, the moment you hear something from the government, if Donald Trump says that the war is over, guess what? We're expecting escalations to continue, right? If Donald Trump says one thing, we got to immediately expect the opposite to be true. That's just kind of where we are, and it's an unfortunate place to be in society, right? To not be able to believe a damn thing coming out of your government, whether it's the DOJ, FBI, Pentagon, you name it, go down the list of all these governmental agencies that you can't fucking trust at this moment in time with this government in place. Sounds very similar to, the way in which that Russia is being kind of run. We know how much Donald Trump loves Vladimir Putin, how much he appreciates and wants to be like Kim Jong-un and the rest of these strongmen, supposed strongmen and dictators around the world. So it seems more and more like Donald Trump's old age, as he gets and gives less and less fucks, that he's trying to run this country more and more like Vladimir Putin runs Russia, like, the takeover of the media. Basically, anybody that says anything bad against him is getting a lawsuit or a lawsuit threatened against them. First Amendment rights are out the window. Anybody that protests must be, a treasonous piece of shit. Anybody that, that wants to see the spread of democracy, anybody that's out there defending democracy or women's rights or standing up for trans individuals or standing up for the LGBTQIA or veterans or, wanting people to get access to healthcare that they deserve to keep their fucking lives going, whatever it may be. Anybody that's doing that is a traitor, right? Anybody that's doing that is wholly anti-American. So that's why they have to portray that. And it's getting more and more like fucking Russia with every single day as far as that's concerned. But, this will be a clear indication for the Russian people every single year looking at this May Day parade. And again, this is religion to them. This isn't kind of, there's a subset of the population that has an interest in World War II and in the Russians' involvement or anything like that. This is religion. This is everybody, thinks and kind of follows the same beliefs as far as the rewriting of history that the Russians have done in their involvement in World War II. Like you just heard, they kind of make it seem like it went from 1941 to 1945, basically not, acknowledging any of their involvement in any of the actions prior to 1941, which is ridiculous. It's like North Korea and how they talk about the United States and whether it's, the war in Vietnam or obviously the war in Korea, just completely, totally making up history, rewriting of history, making up stories, making up events. It's the similar way of governing as far as that's concerned between Russia, North Korea, and the United States right now. But that leads me to this one as well. And unfortunately, we're only going to get through a little portion of these because there's so much to try to cover. But this is by the Kyiv Independent. This was recently put out 2 days ago. And it says, inside the defense of Ukraine's Donbas fortress belt. And we always try to get the most in-depth, kind of most accurate look at what's taking place on the front lines we possibly can. We try to go back to reliable sources, whether it's United 24, Kyiv Independent, Preston Stewart, etc., on people that give us updates on whether it's the Ukrainian strikes, what's happening on the front lines, what's going on in the leaderships and stuff like that. So we try to go back to reliable sources. This is again Kyiv Independent, detailing the Ukrainians' defense and how they're utilizing that Donbas fortress belt, which I thought would kind of play well, would go right hand in hand with what we've been discussing on the show recently. So let's just see if we can hop into a little bit of this. And then again, there's one other one that I know we're not going to get into, but I want to make sure to put the link in the chat. So in case anybody wants to follow up or has the time to watch it on their own time, you guys have the ability to do so. But hit that like button. Again, Kyiv Independent, just giving us a little insight as to how the Ukrainians are utilizing that fortress belt and what it looks like for, soldiers on the front lines right now, so that we can get an accurate representation. So like I always say, appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. Slava Ukraina, Heroyam Slava.
Цілий час бути в тонусі, цілий час це розуміти, цілий час бути уважним. Робота складна.
Мор на землі.
After 12 years of failed attacks, Russia's quest to take the Donbas by storm could be reaching its climax. With ferocious new attacks over 2026, the battle for Ukraine's great fortress belt could soon begin.
And typically the first thing that I look for when I look at these videos or when you see these kind of documentary style videos put out there is look at the surroundings and then see if you can determine what time of year this was filmed at, because a lot of these, and they'll tell you a lot of the times that some of the footage was filmed 2024 or 2023 or 2025, you know what I mean? So it's like you have to know what you're looking at. You have to know when it's filmed in case they don't tell you. Here I'm looking at, obviously it looks like colder weather. You're seeing no leaves on the trees, right? You're seeing kind of a bare forest. So it looks like it could have been shot recently as we're just now coming into the spring months. So the fact that, we're seeing this on the background. So that's, not to, just to kind of give you guys some way to kind of, I don't even know what you'd say, research or take in what you're looking at in the videos that you're watching, because a lot of them will portray the videos and the clips that they're seeing, that they're showing to be like recent and to be like of recent attacks and stuff, but you're looking at it and the grass is green, the leaves are on all the trees. It doesn't really line up with what you're seeing. So an easy way to kind of see if what you're seeing is really recent or from past events.
Digging into the deep black soil of eastern Ukraine, one brigade has stood firm against Russian advances here for over 3 years. Now they could be facing their toughest battle yet.
Тому я лишаюсь зі своїми хлопцями. Це не вихід. Просто так стати. Далі відіжмуть інші.
А приїжджай швидше!
Tough to tell that. Was that an artillery piece? It looked like almost like a tank, just kind of in a bunker type of thing set up. Tough to tell here on the bottom. Here, I'll get out of the way. It looks more like a tank than anything to me. More than an artillery piece for sure. Can't tell what type it is. Almost looks like maybe mobile artillery.
With Russian drones making journalists' work in frontline areas here in Ukraine more deadly with every month, large international media has almost stopped coming to report from the ground on the battlefield. We here at the Kyiv Independent...
Which is a shame, too, which is an absolute fucking shame. We've talked about, and that's why I continuously try to bring this up on as many shows as humanly possible, as much as this information that we possibly can, because, the Iranian, the war with Iran has taken over the headlines. We've been talking about this with friend of the show, Philip Ittner, for a long time, that, the mainstream media has for a long time left this conflict, and it's basically only reporting on, any major updates or major conflicts or major strikes or anything like that from outside of the country. So again, to continuously keep this on the spotlight, we want to make sure that people are thinking about this, are worrying about this, are talking about this, are thinking about ways out of this, are seeing what's going on, are seeing how the United States and our decisions and what we're doing on the world stage is affecting this. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me. I appreciate that you guys, have supported this channel and our support of the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian military. So I want to extend my appreciation to you guys for making this a possibility and understanding why we continuously highlight these situations and try to talk about it as much as we can, because as he just said, and as like we've talked about for quite some time, the mainstream media is not doing their job. Go figure, as they typically as we tend to talk about now, them failing in every single one of their missions, whether it's again opposing the fascism that we see in this country, or again calling out the fascism that we see on the world stage, or or again, the complicity that we see in our government and the Russian government in what's taking place here. So again, huge shout out, huge sign of appreciation, show of appreciation to you guys for allowing me to continue to cover this stuff.
Continue to report from the front line in Ukraine and will continue to do so over 2026, something made possible by our paid members. To support independent journalism, join our community by clicking the link below.
Since the first shots were fired in 2014, control of Donbas has been at the very core of Russia's war.
And this is where you'll start to recognize a little bit of this from some of the coverage that we've had, some of the maps that we've pulled up, and some of the explanations that I've been giving you. So that's why I tried to line this up. Maybe this will be a little bit easier explained, a little bit better explained than I could do.
Against Ukraine. Failing to pressure Ukraine to hand it over without a fight, Moscow is going ahead with efforts to take it by force. Ukraine's defense of Donetsk Oblast hinges on the so-called Fortress Belt, at one end of which is the city of Slovyansk. Over winter and spring, Russian forces made fresh gains east of.
And again, I'd even extend that a little bit because a lot of people are talking about how Lyman up here on the top is kind of like the northernmost flank of this, or could be called the northernmost flank of this belt that we're talking about. That includes Kramatorsk, Slovyansk, Lyman, and I believe there's one more down here that I'm misplacing the name in my brain of right now. I forget, and I apologize. But that kind of makes up that horseshoe type of effect, that belt that we've been talking about, that it utilizes those towns, villages, and cities as kind of that defense structure to make sure that the Russians, if God, hopefully they never get to that point, but if in fact we have to think about that will slow them down considerably, and it will take a substantial push and substantial amount of forces and effort by the Russians to get through that. You know what I mean? So that's what we've been talking about. That's what the Ukrainians have been talking about, utilizing that defense structure. So I just feel like this is a better explanation, representation of that.
We visited one of the key units holding them back.
We're here with Ukraine's 10th Mountain Assault Brigade, better known as Edelweiss, on a very unique mission, a long-range bombing flight, similar to World War II night air raids, but just this time with an unmanned vehicle, a small plane fitted with a bomb in a bomb bay designed to fly.
It's crazy, man, because we talk about how much war has changed, but really it hasn't. Like, you know what I mean? Like the way the weapons that we use, the way in which they're controlled, how they're able to be operated has obviously changed, but kind of the generalized tactics haven't. Like, he's comparing that to a World War II night raid. I mean, similar tactics, similar like effects. You want to have similar impacts on the enemy. Whether that's, detriment to their morale or taking them off the battlefield specifically, or not, taking out their equipment, taking out their bases, taking out their ammunition. Like it's progressed and it's changed so much, but at the same hand, on the same, by the same token, it hasn't changed all that much. You know what I mean? It's a wild thought. It really is.
Without radio signal, undetected, deep behind enemy lines to hit targets that other drones simply wouldn't be able to do.
It's a whole different ball game to look at pieces and players on a map, right? Look at the cities and Kramatorsk and Slovyansk and Lyman on a map, and to talk about the soldiers defending that area and what they have to go through. But then to get teleported, to get transported just like that into one of the bunkers, into one of these positions, that these soldiers are actually in that fucking place fighting, like as we've been trying to describe and talk about, is, I don't know, again, for me, it's just, it gives you amazing insight, well beyond what looking at pieces of a map and colors on a map could ever fucking do.
Я йому віддам, і все, бо він має без змін. І мені поставити, щоб я не забув.
Based in the Carpathian Mountains, the 10th Brigade is manned mostly by soldiers from Western Ukraine. But for over 3 years, they've been here, holding the line in the country's far east.
3 years.
Завжди осінь, весна. Самі такі моменти, самі активні, самі бойові, да.
So that's what he just said there. It's always the autumn and the spring that are most active as far as, attacks and, military actions are concerned. He says in the middle of the summer, the battles died down a little, but autumn and spring, because of, in the heat of the summer, you got kind of have a similar impact as the winter, obviously with the opposite effect. But a lot of people trying to, get away from the heat as opposed to getting away from the cold. A lot of people just trying to, stay hydrated when it's 90, 100 degrees out plus. So you can see how like the spring giving you kind of that perfect temperature, not too hot, not too cold. Days are getting a little bit longer, gives you the ability to move and groove a little bit more than you would be in the winter and obviously the dead of the summer.
Літо трошки може менші бойові дії відбуваються, а осінь, весна це. Ну, воно теж зараз змінюється, бо, скажімо так, попередні роки вони би вже зараз починали активно діяти. Зараз вже з дроновою ситуацією вони чекають все-таки, доки з'являться якась...
Well, that's interesting too there, because he says, you know, in years past, you would expect the Russians to already be kind of, you know, ramping up their attacks, ramping up their actions based on the, you know, the weather changing, the ground thawing out, being able to utilize kind of, you know, those adaptations to the battlefield, to their ability. But where he's saying that the advent of drones and how many drones that the Ukrainians are able to utilize now, like they're waiting to kind of pick their moments a little more. They're not just kind of as willing to throw as many people into the fucking meat grinder. Not saying that they're not willing, because obviously they are, as far as, you know, men and women taking off the battlefield on the Russian side. But you can see how they're a little bit more hesitant to just kind of go full steam ahead. They're looking for kind of, I think as he put it, greener pastures, looking kind of for that specific route where there's the least amount of drones or a least amount of Ukrainian soldiers in it. So again, looking, you know, just kind of talking about the changes in tactics over the years.
Танка, доки буде треба трошки сховатися.
Як відчувається різниця, наприклад, з роботи на FPV?
Та ні, ну просто різні процеси, різні роботи. Там щось може більш небезпечне, щось менш небезпечне. Ну, всюди є свої нюанси. Бо, скажімо, якщо отут вона виглядає, ну, більш безпечно.
I just threw the link to this video in the chat for you guys in case anybody was looking for the link to this. Let me, while I'm looking at this, actually get the link to the other one that I wanted to show you guys as well, or wanted to just let you guys know about as well. We're not going to have time to cover it, but I thought anybody that is interested in this one would also have an interest in this other one as well. Let me see if I can pull this one up. Let's see, which one was it? Which one was it? Was it that one? This one? Give me a second. No, it was this Daily Mail one right here. So copy link. I'll throw this in the chat as well. Paste. That's from a Daily Mail World video, 0 hour, witnessing Ukrainian Wonder drone strike on Russian pilots and the crossfire there. So again, just kind of in-depth looked on the inside and with some of the Ukrainian units there. Again, I didn't get into all of it, but it looked like it would be, you know, right up everybody's alley if we were, you know, if you were interested in the one that we're showing on the screen at this point in time. So let's just get back to this one. A couple more minutes of this, and then we'll go into Dennis has an update for us as far as an attack. He says, update from Ukraine, great big attack. Ukraine encircles Russians in Huliopol. So I figured we'd dive into that, kind of round out the show with that. But just another minute or two of this one from the Kyiv Independent, if I may.
Це відповідно, і ти більш до неї розслабляєшся, а якоби знищити тебе все рівно пробують. І це треба цілий час бути в тонусі, цілий час це розуміти, цілий час бути уважним. І якоби, не знаю, я над тим так не думаю. Всюди є свого роду небезпека.
So there is some form of danger everywhere. The work is difficult. So again, whether it's mines, drones, you know, malnutrition, dehydration, you name it, and you know, diseases, all of these things that you're at risk, obviously, when you're sitting in bunkers, when you're sitting in shelters in the dirt on the front lines for you know, for as long as these people have. I think they said they've been on assignment there for about 3 years. You know, how long they've been able to rotate out in that time is probably unknown.
With a break in
So
the
it looks like they're getting out. I just want to get to the point where they actually launch this, and then we'll move on to the next one. But this is actually them conducting their night activities, their night flights here.
bad weather, the team receives the night's first mission.
And the first thing that's striking there is the size of the drone. Like, I think a lot of people would kind of be, you know, a little bit, you know, taken aback a little bit. You know, I mean, I think you're more or less recognizing or thinking about, I should say, like the smaller FPV drones, or even the larger, what are they, sometimes 4 or 6 6 rotor copters that they have now. But this is, again, more or less a smaller I don't even know what you'd say. It's like a smaller version of a long range drone almost. You know what I mean? I'm not sure exactly what the range on this one specifically is, but you know, it's a lot more substantial than I think a lot of people would recognize, because what he's holding in his hands isn't even the whole thing. You can see the gentleman on the left here is getting the actual wing attachments off of the wall on the left, so you can see kind of, you know, you can get an idea of how big the wingspan would be again when it's fully attached.
The team receives the night's first mission.
So there's the spool of the fiber optic cable, right, that we've talked about, that is so ridiculously damaging and hurtful and harmful to the environment. You know, just miles and miles and miles of this thing, of this webbing, of this wire just spooled out behind these drones. I know they come in, 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 15 kilometers. I've seen up to as many as like 20 or 25 kilometers of fiber optic cable that could be housed in one of these units underneath the drone here. I believe that's what it was, unless it was the munition, unless I'm getting that wrong, but I believe it was fiber optic. So they're attaching the wings. Drone is powered up. Said we have to wait. The satellites disappeared.
Right before takeoff, powerful GPS spoofing is turned on in the area, placing the drone's location on the other side of the world. The mission is delayed.
Чесно, вже забув в географії, що в нас тут в Африці відбувається.
So basically, it's showing their position is in Africa. Again, just showing a little bit of the, of the shit that they have to deal with. And it's not just as easy as go out there, launch up the drones. They're dealing with, fucking the Russians trying to jam their information in return, not giving them the ability to kind of utilize the satellites. And again, something that they have to contend with, I'm sure, on a nightly basis in order to get those drones up and flying as well. But I just wanted to dive into this one before I get you guys out of here. Quick update from Denis Davidov. Update from Ukraine. Big attack. Ukraine encircles Russians near Huliopol. So I want to see if we can just get a little bit of an update on what's going on there, as Huliopol is kind of in that region that we've been discussing for quite some time now as well. So let's see if we can just jump into this. I'll even speed it up just a touch, see if we can get through a little bit more than we would have, and we'll get into it here. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button.
Hello, my friends. Lots of the news today. Most of them are awesome. And let's start from this one. The situation on the front lines, and the Russians have confirmed that Ukraine went on the counteroffensive operation towards Huliopol. Yes, I'm reviewing Russian maps here.
Whoa, where'd you go? What happened? What was that? Come back. Come back. Come back. What the hell just happened? Damn Russians.
And they themselves are showing that Ukraine propelled forward with 2 of the counterattack vectors. And the Russians, I won't say they're going to be trapped in Tsvetkovo and Krynichne, but there is the probability even for that outcome. But I would say they're jammed. And the goal for
not very helpful for him to be using for the Russian maps. I gotta say, it probably wouldn't have been much different if he was using the Ukrainian maps, but a little bit of English on the map would do us a little bit of good. I know he's speaking about in these 2 areas right here, Huliopol, and I don't recall what city, what town he talked about in the bottom, but a little bit of English. Come on there, Denny. No, I'm just kidding.
Ukraine, as the Russians show, is to propel forward towards Huliopol. Huliopol was taken by Russians very fast, around half a year ago, just because Ukraine previously deployed the territorial defense. The capable forces of Ukraine were needed in Donbas, so Ukrainian command thought that, okay, this direction is more or less secure. There was the defense line before, but Russians, with the small infiltration attacks, they managed to get to Huliopol kind of fast. And Ukraine was forced to evacuate the forces, but later on fire brigades were sent and the Russians stopped its offensive. Moreover, Ukraine is now on a major counterattack in this entire direction. And also in the northern area of this map, Ukraine was...
Well, I mean, the fact that they, as far as he's saying here, the Ukrainians were able to reach Huliapol there is pretty substantial as well, because you can see how far behind the lines it is. And you can see where my mouse is to where Huliapol is. I mean, it's not a huge distance, but it's definitely not right on the outskirts either. You know what I mean? So definitely takes a substantial action and some strategy in order to get the Ukrainians into that position, even if they weren't able to hold or keep the position and had to kind of withdraw afterwards. I'm sure whatever insight and intel they got from what they saw and were able to accomplish on their action was worth it. And again, they could redirect, the artillery or the drones or any systems utilized in that area onto whatever troops they saw, onto whatever they were able to get as far as intel on that as well.
Successful Russians themselves, they're saying about the presence of the small sabotage groups of Ukrainian army. But actually, the current front line looks something like that. So it's the Russian map after all, and for propaganda reasons.
I see what he's saying. So he's utilizing a Russian map right now, which again tends to overstate, let's just say, the achievements of the Russian military. So he's actually redrawn that map to what is more, likely or more kind of reflective in reality to where the front lines are. So you can see how it's a little bit more easy to understand how in this area above my head, the Russians are saying that there is Ukrainian kind of resistance, Ukrainian kind of underground missions going on in order to sabotage the different bases or equipment by the Russians in that area. So if you were to listen to the Russian bloggers, you'd kind of be like, well, how the hell did they get that far? Which is, I'm assuming, a similar aspect as to what we were talking about in Huliapol here, right? Similar aspect. So the Russians are trying to show the front line way over here as far as being west of Huliapol, when in fact you can probably assume that it's a lot closer to Huliapol, if not, drastically different from what they're calculating or suspecting here, as far as the Russian mill bloggers are concerned.
They say that the Ukrainian territorial gains are lower than for the Russian army. Yeah, of course. But Ukraine here, as we see, takes the advantage over the Russian army, and Ukraine cut the supply road in Pryluki and Varvarivka. Well, Russians didn't use this road too much because it's very close to the front lines, so they're all being hit by drones. And yeah, Russians, they will show you those like arrows here towards Vestvishenka, but how can they attack if they need to cope with Ukrainian action?
Well, that would have a huge impact too. But you can see this yellow road kind of traveling north to south, right up and down kind of the front line, basically. And if the Ukrainians, based on where they are and where they can push the front lines, where these yellow circles are, so basically what he's just said is that the Russians weren't even really utilizing this road because of the proximity the Ukrainians had, whether it be with artillery or with drones, to be able to strike, to be able to impact that road, which is, again, forcing the Russians to take another route. If they're trying to get, men and women or, artillery or, armored personnel carriers or ammunition, again, from anywhere south to north or north to south. Again, it would make them go backwards. It would have to make them kind of backtrack and utilize a different route. And again, not saying that it's probably hugely disruptive to them, but the further away that they make them go, the Ukrainians make the Russians go, per the front lines and make them operate in the background. Then again, it's kind of, hindering the Russians' ability to, again, resupply and restock these other areas, making it at least that much longer, making them expend a little bit more fuel. Again, all things beneficial when you talk about a war in the long run and something that's going to, be continuously going on here. So the fact that they're not able to utilize at least a portion of this north-south road here, at least going into Huliapol, is again beneficial for the Ukrainians.
Territorial gains and counteroffensive operation. Well, Russia attacks in the southern part from Myrna and Huliapolskaya, so this is the zoomed-in image, but there Ukraine also has the counteroffensive to compensate Russian advancement. Well, Russians are saying that they got those territorial gains. How many forces they use here, it's hard to tell, maybe just a small infantry attack. But at the same time, Russians showed this part that Ukraine went towards Star Ukrainka and Zhelyeznodorozhная, and it's
so basically these ones on the left are just a blown up version, a more zoomed in version of these different spots that we're looking at on the front. So obviously the one in the circle is directly relating to this kind of action over here that we're talking about just west of Huliapol.
Already very close to Huliapol. In the northern area over here, we see Pryluki and Varvarivka in a gray zone. This counteroffensive of Ukraine is happening for the last couple of days, mostly using drones. There is the infantry presence, but not that much as before, as we saw the last year and the year before.
I mean, that fits with what we've seen, and I appreciate Dennis for his updates here. I was just kind of, like I said, curious about the impacts of this Ukrainian offensive that seems to have been going on for a couple days in this area. Seems to have, run and at least had some effective probes into Mariupol. Again, whether that's had the ability and, kind of the benefit of allowing them to direct more accurate and more substantial fire onto whatever Russian positions are in there. It remains to be seen, but we'll be, be right here to cover it, to look at whatever reports come out of this as well. But I appreciate Dennis for for all of the information and keeping us up to date on that one as well. But, we'll continue to see what takes place and, what further actions are taken here. Like we said, going into the nicer weather months, we're going to definitely start to see an uptick in actions on both sides. So much appreciated for you guys sticking with me as always. And let me see, did I throw that? I did throw that other one in the chat. I'm going to throw this link in the chat as well for the Kyiv Independent one more time for everybody that was asking. That way you guys can watch this on your own time. I'll finish up where we left off. That one right there is from the Kyiv Independent one I just put in, and I'll put this other one up here too, because there's one here from United 24, 30 kilometers behind enemy lines in inside Ukraine's intelligence Bratstvo battalion, which I thought would be pretty cool to look at, pretty substantial to look at, and give us some pretty good insight as to what happens when they're working behind enemy lines that deep. So I'm not going to have time to give it the due coverage it deserves right now. So maybe I'll leave that for Tuesday's show. I will give you the link right now. That way, in case you guys want to check it out before then, you guys can do that as well. Copy, paste in the chat right there. All right. So that one in the chat is going to be to the United 24 video. Appreciate the mods. Thank you guys for making everybody aware on what links I'm posting on there. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, I mean, another day of sifting through the bullshit, another day of lies from the United States government, another day of, kind of discrepancies between what the United States is saying and what the Iranian leadership is saying, what the spokespeople from the Iranian side are saying. So again, you guys have to come to your own conclusions and your own determinations as to where the truth actually lies. Obviously, both sides have a reason, have the ability and the motive to kind of stretch the truth, let's just say, to benefit their own side. So again, the truth definitely lies somewhere in the middle. So like I said, if you want to rewind the show, if you didn't catch the beginning, we just kind of go through some of the statements by Trump, some of the statements by the Iranian leadership, and then you guys can kind of, like I said, come to your own conclusions based off of what we're seeing take place in reality and on the ground. And otherwise, the lies that we were told by this administration as far as this was concerned as well. Another thing that we wanted to make sure. Estimating wartime damage to U.S. military bases in the Middle East per Operation Epstein Fury, not what you're being told. You're being sold a bill of lies, okay? What Pete Hegseth is trying to say, what he said under oath in front of Congress, lies, not true, wrong. He's either incompetent, ignorant, or absolutely fucking moronic, okay? There's no other off-ramps. There's no other choices in this. They're either willfully being obtuse, willfully lying to you, or he's just that fucking stupid where he doesn't know better. That's it. That's the only thing that we could fucking possibly come to as a determination from these assholes. So, there was that, and that was kind of, that was related to this as well. And I'll throw this one in the chat too. Might as well give you guys all the links so you guys can be as up to speed and up to date as I am on this. This one is by the CNN. This is the CNN clip here about the investigation in the damage to the U.S. bases in the Middle East. That's the link that I just put in the chat in case you guys are wondering about that one. What else did we watch so you guys can be up to speed and up to date? I think that was all of the clips that we put in. That's all of the clips that we watched today. You guys have all of the links now. All right, yeah, so let's get into thanking some people. Thank you guys all over on Venmo. Anybody that was kind enough to send over a buck or two. Again, pictures right here, or the QR codes right here. All you got to do is take a picture with your phone, send you right to the Venmo. All I ask for is $1 or $2. We're not trying to drive Lamborghinis and buy mansions here. We just want to be able to keep the lights on. Some food in the stomach would be great. Anything above $1 or $2 is 100% up to you guys based off of your financial capabilities. Again, there's a ton of free stuff, ton of free ways in which you could help the show too. So if you don't have, $1 or $2 to come out of pocket with, Don't be afraid. Don't be worried. Don't apologize. There's a lot of ways in which you guys can contribute to the show. Like, share, subscribe, leave a couple emojis in the chat after the live is posted. You can come back on, leave a comment that's there forever. Also is a good way to help the old algorithm say that you guys liked and enjoyed what you were watching, and it sends it out to other people. So, all you guys that are contributing and have been for a long, long time, I really, really do appreciate you guys, and all the new people too. You guys are just as important in trying to get this, this group to grow, this community to grow. We're on our way to 20,000 subscribers here on YouTube. We just passed 20K on Instagram. We just passed, I think, 5K on Facebook. We're getting there on what's the other one? Substack, Threads, all the other ones. We're trying to work our way up there. So with your help, if you're on those platforms, check us out. Check out bostonbrian.com. That gives you all the information for show times, our Patreon Zoom dates, all of the links for our merch sites, all of the discounts and stuff for the Patreons is all listed on there. So make sure you check out bostonbrian.com. Thank you guys. First and foremost, let's say thank you to Jenny Faye. Thank you so much, Jenny Faye, for everything. I really do appreciate you, dear. Great show. Thanks for your voice. No, thank you for your voice. Very much appreciate you. And thank you for, speaking up, getting loud and proud out there, letting people know where you stand on the right side of history. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for everything that you and everybody in your household has done for us. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much, Jenny Faye. Thank you so much to MR as well. $2 for the Sunday show. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. It goes a long, long way to help support independent media, independent creators that have no financial backers, ads, sponsors, anything like that. We do things by ourselves, for ourselves, with ourselves. That sounds a little weird. Maybe a pause in there. I'm not sure. But anyway, everything is done in-house by us and for us. There's no outside backers, resources, sponsors, anything like that. Like I said, nothing is hidden behind a paywall. I don't charge for the Substack or anything like that. We try to do things the right way, and based off of your generosity and the value that I give to you is what you guys give back in return. So I love you, and I appreciate everybody, stepping up to the plate and helping us grow. Thank you so much for Geneva H over the last couple of days. I really do appreciate you and your kind contributions. Geneva says, another stellar show. Thank you, Brian. No, thank you, Geneva. You've been absolutely incredible, amazing, just really, really impactful, I will say, with your generous contributions for the show. Thank you so much to Roger, Karen, and Roger. I will say you guys are and have been fantastic for a long, long time. Thank you to Nina C. Nina C says from 73 Namaste on YouTube. Thank you, Brian and crew, for all you do. I know it's exhausting, but you truly make our days better, and that is why we keep this going. That is why we do what we do. Thank you so much, Nina, for your kind words. Thank you for your kind contributions and taking the time out of your day to contribute to the channel. I really, really do appreciate that. Thank you, Yakov, for not only being a fantastic mod down there, but for contributing to the show as well. Great fucking show yesterday, he says. Thank you so much, Yakov. Very much appreciate that, brother. And then over the last couple of days, Roxanne, thank you to Tempe. Thank you to Allison. Thank you to Dame. Thank you, Geneva, again. Thank you to Tom, the altar boy. Very much appreciate you and everything that you do. Thank you to Victoria SB. I'll say thank you to Cedric. Thank you to Mark. Thank you to Roxanne. And then thank you to Claudia. Wrapping up the last couple days. Again, I like to spread the wealth, and everybody that contributes over the last few days always gets a shout out, always gets a reaction from me, and a show of appreciation for everything that you guys do for this chat. Let's see if we can get over here on the YouTube side of things and thank all the fabulous individuals that were gifting over here. And I think I just drew all over my leg, probably with a pen. First up on the list today, thank you so much, Moms. Very much appreciate seeing you. Thank you so much for your kind contributions. As always, we love having you here. Very much appreciated there in the chat. Thank you for your kindness and your support. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Hope you're doing well. Let us know if we can do anything for you, if you need anything. If we could assist, if we could be, I don't know, some help, you know what I mean? But we appreciate you. Thank you so much, Moms. Thank you, Wes, as well. Yesterday, Woodman's E85 Gasohol, $199, no lie. English, Wes, English. Yesterday, Woodman's E85 Gasohol, $199, no lie. E85, isn't that the fucking high tune stuff? Hold on. Isn't E85 what, like, the race cars and shit use, Wes? E8, hold on, let me just check this. E85 gas. Or am I getting that wrong? Why would it be cheaper? It says here, thinking. Why is it thinking? E85 is high octane, 100 to 105 renewable fuel blend containing 51 to 85% ethanol and the remainder gasoline, designed exclusively for flex fuel. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. That's the E85. Okay, gotcha. My apologies. I was mixing that up with the high octane stuff. That's my apologies. No, it says it is at high octane, but it's renewable fuel. So what's the other one? Why am I getting that confused? Excuse me. E85 is great weed strain. What's like the high dose of the gasoline that the race cars use? You know, you can do like, unleaded, super, and then there's like the next levels up there where you get like the best bang for your buck. I think they have it in Europe a lot, right? For petrol. Come on, anybody in the chat, come on. Now this is gonna be one of these things where I wake up in the middle of the night like screaming it because I remembered it. Ethel, I don't know who Ethel is, but 104, 110, maybe that's it. Graphene. All right, more AV gas. Is it AV gas? No, that's the real shit, Mr. Spark. That's the fucking shoot you to the moon shit, right? I'll think of it. 101 octane race gas, Narachi. All right, gotcha. All right, nope, you're right. My apologies. I knew it was something like that. That's just why, Wes, I was confused when he said it was like a lot cheaper than everything else. I was like, that doesn't make sense in my head, but that's because I was wrong. So, Wes, appreciate you for keeping us up to speed, keeping us on our toes, as always. Very much appreciated. What's Woodman's? Like a gas station, just gas station in the area, I'm assuming? Appreciate you, Wes. Thank you for your kind contributions. Then we got Slacks. What's up, fucking Slacks? You fucking bastard, you. Appreciate you, dude. What's going on? Slav Ukraini. Much love to you, brother. Love to all my fellow Bryantologists. I hope everyone is having a beautiful Sunday. I'm listening, but I'll be sharing the stream. So thank you all for your greetings. Right back at you, Slacks. W Slacks in the chat. Much appreciate him for his kindness, his generosity, his kind contributions over the years have gone a long, long way in keeping this show running. So again, W's in the chat for Slacks. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you, Ricky, right underneath him for the 10 gifted memberships. Let's go, Ricky. Very, very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Shout out to you for everything that you guys do in the chat there, whether it's gifted memberships like Ricky or they're just kind contributions like Slacks and everybody else. You guys are fantastic. And again, motivates me to come back every single day, even though it's like really, really not healthy to sift through all this bullshit every day, I gotta say. But thank you so much, Ricky. 10 gifted memberships going to 10 fantastic people in the chat. They get a membership for a month. Think about re-upping on that membership, guys. I know a lot of fantastic people gifted memberships and a lot of people getting those memberships. If you find yourself coming back and utilizing the memberships and enjoying the chat and liking what you're seeing and liking what you're hearing, think about re-upping on those chats, on those memberships, because a lot of times a lot of fantastic people will be generous and they'll gift a lot of memberships. But that means when they all run out at the same time, that it runs out at the same time. Again, you guys get the drift. So I appreciate you, Ricky. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you, Blunt Front, as always, for your $5 contribution and everything that you do. Very much appreciated. Shout out to you. Shout out to I Smoke and I Know Things for becoming a new YouTube member. Always good to see new people signing up to become YouTube members. Means we're actually doing something right. People enjoy the show. People find a home here for either information or the chat. Again, either or. We built a great community, and I think that we give you some good information. But again, I'm biased in that regard. So I Smoke and I Know Things. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Woke Antifa right underneath you for becoming another new YouTube member. Again, very much appreciate you guys for your support, your contributions, your passion for staying involved on issues like this, and for helping independent creators like myself gain some notoriety and gain some momentum in this space. It really means a lot. So Woke Antifa, very much appreciate you. I Smoke and I Know Things is back for 10 months. Again, I'll never understand this, how you could become a new YouTube member and also be celebrating 10 months at the same time, but fuck it. What do I need to understand for, right? You guys are just amazing people. That's all I need to know. I don't know why PayPal keeps denying payments. I have to re-up. All good, my man. All good. I appreciate that. I appreciate your contributions. I know YouTube kind of has some glitches every now and again, so it might not be anything that you were doing wrong. But again, I appreciate your input. Appreciate you putting that in the chat and all of your contributions. Bicycle Mike, what's up, bastard? I don't know why. Bastard's the first thing I come out with. It's just like my term of endearment. What's up, you handsome bastard? What's going on, Mike? What's happening, brother? F Trump, F cancer. Right there with you every single time. Seconded, no notes. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. Woke Antifa's back for 2 months. I don't understand this. I will never understand it. I Smoke and I Know Things was a new YouTube member, and then they've been a member for 10 months. Woke Antifa was a new member, but now they've been a member already for 2 months. It's like quickest 2 months in history, and I love you. I love you for it. I can't thank you enough. News cycle, Midas Touch, Aaron Parnes, Boston Brian, and Legos. I don't think you could go wrong, right? Like, what would you be missing? What areas would you be missing, right? Midas covers a lot. Aaron Parnes covers everything, right? I'm always talking about different aspects that they're not, whether it's Ukraine or, different aspects of like what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz, the Bab el-Mandeb, maybe to a deeper degree than they are. And then Legos, right? To round it all up, you'll get all the Easter eggs, you get all the information. So if that's your daily cycle, if that's your daily lineup right there, you're doing pretty fucking well. You're doing pretty well. And again, I am kind of clowning on myself a little bit to think I'm anywhere related or associated, or I should be putting that to that category with those people. But, I'll take it where I can get it. I'll take it where I can get it, Woke Antifa. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for throwing that in the chat. Thank you, Melissa. Oh, would you get a new bike? What is that? What kind? It's tough for me to tell. Picture's a little small, but it does look like a very, very nice one. So if that's you, congratulations, Melissa. If it's your husband, hopefully he stays safe. I appreciate the 10 gifted, though. Shout out to you, Melissa. Very much appreciate that. Another 10 people in the chat getting gifted memberships because of the generosity of Melissa and people just like Melissa in the chat. So Melissa, appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much for contributing. Thank you, Bry Guy. What's going on, man? 5 for Brian. Thanks for the great day. Thank you so much, B-Man. Right back at you, my friend. Thank you for your contributions. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for always contributing the way you do. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day as well. Thank you, JD, for another 5 gifted memberships. See, we have so many fucking unbelievably generous people in this chat, and I'm so blessed to have you guys as a part of this community, and all the other communities that you guys support as well. Are so lucky to have you guys. So, JD, much appreciated, my friend, as always. Jennifer, thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you for your support, generosity, and continuing to come back every single show. That goes for Marsha as well. 5 gifted, Marsha. Let's go. Shout out to you, dear. Very much appreciate you. Hope you're well. Let me know if there's anything that we can do for you. If there's anything you need from us or the chat, we're here for you, Marsha. So very much appreciate that. Make sure you give the kitty a nice little treat for me. Some what do they call it? Catnip? Yeah, that's the stuff. Give him that. I appreciate you, DPD. Rounding it out today. Thank you, Boston Brian, for all your hard work that you do. Thank you for being on the right side of history. Great mods. I am very proud of you and what you have accomplished. My husband loves your show. Keep up the good trouble, Boston Brian. That is unbelievable, DPD. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you to DPD's husband as well. Very much appreciate you guys, and whether you're watching or telling other people about the show or gifting or just commenting, whatever it is, whatever aspect that you guys do to help get this show rolling and to keep it going, to keep it growing, is very much appreciated. Like I said, we're taking a little bit of a different route than a lot of the other channels that you may watch. We're taking sponsors and financial backers from anybody they possibly can. They're charging you for Substack. They got shit hidden behind paywalls, and if you don't have $5 or $10, you're not going to be able to see that bit of content, which I think is pretty shitty. So we're trying to do things a different way, more along the lines of the Kyle Kalinski's attempts of not talking to sponsors, backers, or anybody like that. We don't want people swaying what I can say, what I can't say, what I can talk about, and what I can't talk about. So it's, again, as I say, not the most profitable venture or way to establish a YouTube channel or, this political commentary podcast that I'm trying to do. But again, I do think it's the right way. I do think it's the correct way. And it gives me the freedom and the ability to lay my head down on the pillow at night and not be scared about what sponsors think, or if I talked about something in the wrong way, or if I bring up Gaza, or if I bring up Palestine, or if I bring up, what's taking place in Lebanon. Are people going to pull out their support, financial support for the show? That's not where I want to be. So again, we're trying to do things the right way. It's probably going to be a longer haul. It's going to be a lot more difficult to establish. So that's why I need your help, your assistance. And that's why I am so appreciative of the mods and the chat that we've built here, the community that we've built here, for sticking with me as we, again, try to establish some sort of spot here for ourselves. So again, I'm Brian. This is Blunt Politics, the political podcast that just sifts through the bullshit of the mainstream media, the propaganda, the Trump regime, and basically anything else that pertains to politics, both domestic and foreign. We try to dive into it and give you the best insights, and just try to go through it and learn about it the same way that everybody else is, right? We don't talk down to you. There's no professors here that are, kind of pinky up telling you what you should know and what you shouldn't know. We're just sifting through it together. You guys call it out. I call it out. We all learn together. You teach me. I teach you. That's how we work around here. So again, if you want to be part of the opposition, if you want to become part of the resistance movement, sign up here. Become a member, become a Patreon. whatever you can do. Subscribe to the channel, like the channel, represent with some, Blunt Politics merch, some resistance merch, some opposition merch. Great way to get the conversation going. And again, share the stream out. So I appreciate you guys. Love you to the mods. Love you to the chat. Much respect from everybody here to everybody there and all of your loved ones. Make sure you're having a wonderful rest of your weekend. And I will see you Tuesday for the Tuesday show. Again, unless something crazy, unless some breaking news happens either tonight or tomorrow, and we'll have to kind of bring you the reports. Otherwise, hit that notification bell. That'll let you know when I drop a short, drop a live or a video or anything like that. Go back, check out, if you can, the shorts that I put out from my interview with Michael Fanone. If you guys could share those out, if you could like those, leave a comment on those, that would be fantastic and would go a long way in, helping this channel grow. So again, mods, love you. Chat, love you. Anybody else who I missed, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and Substack. I'll see you Tuesday. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel and enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's not that great out around here, I got to say. I tell you to enjoy the sun, but I don't think the sun's out. So, enjoy something else. All right. I'm out of here. I love you guys. I'm Brian. This is Blood Politics. I'll see you Tuesday. Okay. Man, I don't know how you do it, Dr. Leos. That sounds like a shitload of commercials. That sounds like a shitload of commercials. I'm glad I can give you a break here. I'm glad when you get to Blunt Politics, you have a break from the ads. No, I appreciate you, Dr. Leos. I'm only busting chops. Thank you so much for putting me in that lineup, that list. It's an honor to be mentioned in the category of other creators that you guys want to know. Please don't mistake my humor, my sarcasm, or anything else. Dr. Leos, I appreciate you, and I thank you for recognizing my brain. Thank you, Jen. Thank you so much, Jen. It really means a lot.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Is that a direct quote? Is that a direct quote, Lons? I hope so. How awesome would it be to get a clip of Donald Trump coming out and telling everybody how unfair Boston Brian has been? How impactful Blunt Politics has been in his demise? That would be fucking beautiful. Beautiful. I appreciate you a lot. Thank you, Rox. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Alyosha over there on Twitch as well. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Mark. Thank you to all of the fantastic mods I have. Yakov. Thank you so much, brother. You guys make this possible. I appreciate it a lot. I really do.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
God bless the United States. Proud to officially name the undisputed. When did this come out?
Never fight uphill, me boys, never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow, that was a big mistake. He lost his great general. And they were fighting, never fight uphill, me boys, but it was too late. They're a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your... Army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was. The Battle of Gettysburg, what an unbelievable, I mean, it was so much and so interesting and so vicious and horrible and so beautiful in so many different ways. It represented such a big portion of the success of this country. Gettysburg, wow. I go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to look and to watch. They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means?
Вітаю, Бостон
Acclimated.
Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
We're inviting Americans from all across the country to come. The undisputed champion of beautiful, clean coal.
It's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls.
Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real? Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. For miners, do we love miners? I love miners. When you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy, they had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports, it's called baseball in particular, and pitchers, I guess you could say, in really particular. Oh, get those lights off! Off! Turn them off, they're too bright, turn them off!
Oh, go fuck yourself.
Where you going? Nowhere. Water coming here is dead.
No way we are going to allow a con artist to take over the conservative movement, and Donald Trump is a con artist.
The big